Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto is feared by nation Sasuke bashing naruhina. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Maki-K and link in the description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1, The Strongest. Legendary Inheritance. The history of the Hidden Leaf Village is well known all across the elemental nations. Even the most secluded lighting country citizens who live deep in the mountains or the most closed-minded earth country inhabitants who hated Konoha with all their being knew how Konoha came to be. It was, after all, a turning point in the elemental nations, a new era started by two legends who overcame the hatred against each other and together united the various clans of the elemental nations, creating the very first hidden ninja village. This is, of course, something everyone knows, no matter whether they are shinobi or civilians. But what about the other ninja villages? Who untied the stubborn people of Iwa, the proud citizens of Kumo, the elusive and mysterious inhabitants of Kiri, or the nomads in the harsh desert that is Suna? Well, for the most part, it is not common knowledge, and the true history of how it came to be is not something any of the mentioned villages wishes to spread. After all, it was not one of their own who brought them together. You see, the Senju and Uchiha clans together were unbeatable, and the other clans in the region knew this fact very well. Hell, Hashirama and Madara alone could probably conquer the whole of the Fire Country, and so the other clans like Hyuga, Nara or Inyazuka decided it would be in their interests to join the forming village. Now, there was no other clan on the mainland that could dominate their region alone, yet none were willing to join in alliances like Uchiha and Senju. So, the power struggle would have kept going across the elemental nations, bar the Fire Country, had it not been for one man. Uzumaki Satoru. The first Uzumaki was born with both of the Uzumaki clan's Kekkei Genkai. The Limitless was a technique that all Uzumaki had the potential to be born with, but roughly only 10 Uzumaki per generation were able even to manifest it. This Kekkei Genkai, to put it simply, allowed the user to bring the concept of infinity into reality, which in turn allowed them to manipulate and distort space at will. A powerful technique that made the Uzumaki clan feared across the lands. Limitless was, however, something no one ever truly mastered before Satoru. This is because to bend the space to one's will, the user needs to be precise on an atomic level. Even the slightest mistake when utilizing the technique made it not only taxing, but also not as efficient as intended, and so no one ever mastered it. Born with the second Uzumaki Kekkei Genkai, one that has been as seen nothing as a myth and clouded in as much mystery as the Rinnegan, the Rikugen, the Six Eyes, allowed Satoru to become the first person to master the Limitless. The Rikugen was a powerful dijutsu seen in only one person before Satoru, the brother of the Sage of the Six Paths, Otsutsuki Hamura. The dijutsu made the user's eyes a light shade of blue and made them look like an unending abyss, the limitless sea in which if you look too long, you would drown with no hopes of getting back. The Six Eyes provides the user with vast perception and immense brain processing power, allowing them to precisely manipulate the sophisticated powers of the Limitless down to an atomic level. The mental prowess of the Six Eyes can turn one moment in reality into well over a minute's worth of time within the user's brain. This works well in tandem with the user's enhanced sight, allowing them to analyze and calculate the positions of everything within view instantly. It's said that anyone who possesses the Six Eyes can see things for several kilometers away, easily able to distinctly tell apart different figures within their vast range. The Six Eyes allows the user to see chakra in extreme detail. As such, the use of the Six Eyes can see the flow of chakra, which in turn allows them to read another person's jutsus as well. Additionally, the Six Eyes can differentiate between different types of chakra and help the user identify a person based on it. With the power seen in only a legendary figure before him, Uzumaki Satoru left Uzumaki Island and intended to bring peace and order to the mainland himself. The elders tried to stop him, reasoning that his campaign would only make the others fear them, but the young Uzumaki did not listen. He felt it was his task, given to him by the world. It was his responsibility as the strongest to make sure the people of this world know peace. So his mission began and it took him only 3 months to conquer the whole of the water country. Soon after, a half-year campaign in the Kumo ended in the same result. The nomads of the wind country didn't even fight him, bowing to him when they heard of his exploits, not wishing to go against him. Lastly, the region of lighting country was subjugated in only a month. And so, with the help and promises of setting them free, Satoru helped in the forming of the other 4 great ninja villages. Content with his work, he went back to Uzumaki Island, or what was now called Uzushiogakure, which was a hidden village. To Satoru's surprise, his return was not met with festivities and congratulations. Instead, the elders have given the decision of banishing him from Uzushio for not only disobeying them, but also making their potential enemies stronger. The user of Six Eyes pleaded with the elders, but they did not listen, listing how the Kurigakure already started to overpower them in the fish export and taking away a lot of Uzushio's income. However, after 2 days, they caved slightly in. Not enough to just forgive him, but enough to give him a choice. A choice to remedy his mistakes. The elders told him should he go and either subjugate Kurigakure to Uzushio or tear it to the ground, they would lift the sentence of his banishment and welcome him back where he belonged. Not much is known about what followed, as no archives in Uzushio describe the meeting past this point. However, to several eyewitnesses, Satoru killed the elder council and left Uzushio forever. Years later, a few months before the first Great Shinobi War, the man walked past the great gates of Konohagakure and went into a meeting with the first Hokage, who was already married to Uzumaki Mido, and left him a single sealing scroll, which could not only be opened by someone of the Uzumaki blood, but also someone who had the Limitless. This was the last time anyone in the whole elemental nations ever heard of Uzumaki Satoru. The supposed content of the scrolls were satirist diaries, training scrolls, techniques, hidden techniques, notes on the Limitless, but also notes on the 6 eyes, as well as how to train them. The scroll was left closed until the second Hokage requested in Uzumaki from Uzushio to check whether the scroll was worth keeping or not, and after confirming the content to be true, he sealed it back again, in hopes that one day, a Konoha-born Uzumaki will open it. What is the problem with being the strongest? A question only a few in the history of the elemental nations had to dwell on it, one of them being a 12-year-old Uzumaki Naruto. The first problem was, obviously, finding anyone who can match you in a fight, someone who can push your limits. Someone who can stand by your side as an equal. That was what Naruto found as the only downside of being the strongest. Of course, it didn't bother him. After all, why did he need to push past his limits? He was the strongest, he achieved the peak, and an only handful could ever hope to stand against him in a fight and even dream of winning. Isn't it what Hiruzen Jiji always said? What does the council always tell him? He was the strongest and they knew it, so why did he have to listen to their orders? Why did he still listen to their orders? The blonde smirked under his porcelain mask thinking about this. I guess it is better than being bored out of my mind. This was the second problem, and the one that bothered the blonde prodigy. Before he entered the Anbu he was so bored. Missions for Genin, then Chunin, then Jonin, non-stop training, learning, finding ways to become stronger. It all was for nothing because when he looked back and realized no one can match him in battle, it was too late. And so, the missions, the thrill of battle, the adrenaline, it never came because he was the strongest. He pushed himself too far. But then, the council and the old man offered him a position in Anbu. There the missions wouldn't be as boring, he wouldn't need to hold back in front of clients, he would do something besides frontline fighting. Assassinations, blackmailing, document forging, seduction, intel gathering. Of course, it didn't bring back the adrenaline or rush of battle, but hey. It was better than sitting home and reading more of course, manuals on how to get stronger. The blonde thought, denying reading the smut written by his godfather. Playing a little Anbu has been fun and all, but I'm kinda relieved to get a mission like this. It has been almost a year since I started doing the Black Ops kind of missions. Naruto looked from his position on a tree branch and saw a squad of Kumo ninjas he was hunting coming his way. Without a second thought, the blonde jumped down and landed in front of the 5 Kumo nin, making them stop when they realized who stood in front of them. It can't be. You vanished a year ago. One of them shouted, hands trembling with fear. A chuckle escaped Naruto as the 5 ninjas prepared to fight. He is completely relaxed. It will be his downfall. Hey, guys. We can do it the hard way or the easy way. You can just come back with me to Konoha or I can just kill you, the blonde said merrily, almost like he didn't just threaten them. Personally I prefer the hard way, he muttered, his bloodlust filling the area, the killing intent making the enemy freeze. They attack. The apparent leader shouted breathlessly and started going through hand seals at rapid speed. His orders seemed to wake up his comrades who followed suit, fingers blitzing through the ancient seals, all while Naruto waited happily. Raiden. Lightning surge. Raiden. Shock wave. Pain. Fire dragon jutsu. Futon. Great breakthrough. Raiden. Static discharge. The 5 jutsu slammed where the blonde stood, resulting in a large explosion of smoke and debris, strong enough to force the 5 shinobi a few steps back. They waited with bated breaths for the smokescreen to clear, hoping, begging to see their opponent lying in pieces or burnt on the ground. Instead, gasps filled the area when the smoke cleared. Impossible, muttered one of them, falling to his knees. Not impossible, simply infinitely beyond your reach. There he stood, in a large crater made by the power of the 5 jutsus, unharmed, not even a speck of dirt on his black-gray Anbu uniform and pure white porcelain mask, chuckling with his hands in his pockets. Nice attack by the way, actually not bad. Hey, let me show you one of mine, the blonde said with a smile that went unnoticed by the Kumo nins. The blonde extended his left hand and pointed between the 5 enemy ninja. Uzumaki Hijutsu. Blue, before they could react, a strange blue glowing ball appeared between them and pulled them with a force none could resist. Not only they but the earth, stones, and dust as well. Everything in the proximity of 2 meters from the glowing orb was pulled towards it. Know that you had the honor of being killed by Uzumaki Naruto, the strongest person alive. Screams and shrieks of unimaginable pain and suffering filled the air as the orb started to slowly apply more pressure on the Kumo ninjas before it imploded. Blood and gores rained into the small hole in the ground left by Naruto's technique. The blonde looked at the scene for a second before shrugging and walking away. There is a small town nearby. I should check out if there are no other Kumo ninjas around. Yes. If anywhere, they are probably hiding at the best ramen shop around. Time for a new mission. Check out all ramen shops in the vicinity of 10 miles. The blonde grinned and walked away. Fox, you are 2 days late. Where in the 7 hells have you been? Naruto sighed looking at the cat-masked Anbu who blocked his way. Currently, in the Hokage office, the blonde was said to report to the old man, and Cat, his Anbu captain has been as well. You know how it is with this kind of mission, Cat-chan, sometimes someone runs away and I have to chase them. Naruto tried to make it as believable as possible, but the growl that came from the female Anbu told him all he needed to know about his attempts. Don't lie to me, I know, everybody knows it is impossible to run away from you. So tell me, where have you been? She asked dangerously and the blonde cringes slightly. It was not like she could do anything to him, even as a superior officer, but he liked her and thought them to be friends. So telling her the truth and showing no regard for her rank would sure upset her. So, full weekend all-inclusive in the hot springs. Or maybe I should pull some strings and get her a sword made in Iron Country. So I've been eating ramen, the blonde said and rubbed the back of his head. Silence. Complete and utter silence. She did not respond, merely looking into his slit-like eyes on the white porcelain mask. You have been eating ramen? Yes, for 2 fucking days. Well 3. I finished the mission a day before the deadline. I don't even know what to say, Kat muttered, holding a hand to her forehead, probably trying to process what she just heard. Well, now that's out of the way, Kat-chan, any idea what the old man wants? No, I don't know, but let's go, we are late because of you. Wait, you were the one who caught me here and proceeded to interrogate me, the blonde said with a shit-eating grin looking at his captain. Kat looked at Naruto with a deadpan stare and looked at a clock on the wall. You were supposed to be here 3 hours ago, and Hokage-sama told me to wait till you come. Well, if you put it that way, then maybe, you were just too early. Yes, right. What are you looking at? The stare Kat gave him made him slightly uncomfortable, but luckily she just sighed and started walking away, mumbling something about stupid blondes. Hey, I heard that. Good, mean woman, he muttered under his nose and followed after her to the Hokage office at the top of the building. The woman was about to knock, but Naruto walked past her and kicked the door in. Hey, old man. He said happily and then took notice of the 3 other people in the room, Danzo, Hamura and Kaharu. And the rest of the old people. Ow, he muttered when Kat elbowed him and bowed to her superiors. Hokage-sama, esteemed elders. Fox-kun, Kat-chan, it's good to see you both again. Right, okay old people, out, Naruto said and literally took out the chair Danzo was sitting from under him and sat comfortably. The 3 elders, Danzo even more than the other 2, looked at him with contempt and stood their ground. Naruto made an amused sound and looked at them. Slowly, his hand touched his mask and pushed it just enough for his right eye to look at the elders. The 3 flinched looking into those deep cold limitless blue eyes that promised to swallow you and never let you go. I thought I told you to go, we have some important business with the old man, the blonde said, and without another word, the 3 quickly left the room. Naruto could see and feel their emotions, besides the obvious one, fear, he felt their anger and embarrassment. Should have listened the first time. Naruto-kun, there was no need to be so rough with them, the Hokage said with a small smile adorning his face at finally seeing these 3 get put in their place. They have been, especially Danzo, pushing their limits, trying to test him and see how much they can get away with. Please, take off your masks. The 2 complied. Yuzuki Yugao, a purple-haired beauty with brown eyes and sharp features, sat next to Naruto, who took out a pair of round sunglasses and cover his blue eyes, and looked at the 3rd Hokage. How was your last mission, Naruto-kun? The 3rd asked, lighting his pipe and taking a calming drag. The blonde grinned and shrugged. Nothing special. Found them in a forest, played with them for a moment, and then killed them. Nothing interesting, why are you asking? The old man sighed and took off his Hokage hat, massaging his temples. Naruto-kun, do you know why there were 5 Kumo ninjas within our borders? Nope, no idea. It was written in the mission scroll, Yugao muttered, her right eyebrow twitching at the blonde who scratched the back of his head in small embarrassment. Well, I just skimmed it and saw 5 Kumo shinobi, the rough coordinates, and eliminate, didn't though I needed to know anything more. The purple-haired woman sighed and rubbed the bridge of her nose, while Hiruzen chuckled under his breath. Well, Naruto-kun, for the past 4 months both Kumo and Iwa have been sending spies and shinobi into our borders, prodding, pushing the limits of our tolerance, looking into things they shouldn't. The council fears the worst and according to Jiraiya, they have slowly started mobilizing forces, along with Kiri. The war, huh? So, what's the plan? You want me to go into their villages and blast them to pieces? No, Naruto-kun, along with the village council, I have decided that your talents are needed elsewhere than Anbu and therefore, please give up your mask. While I'm leaving Anbu. Okage-sama, I would ask you to reconsider. The decision has been made, Yugao. We have a special assignment for Naruto during these times, Hiruzen explained, looking at the sad and purple-haired Kunoichi. A special assignment? The blonde muttered under his breath, his hand holding his chin in a thinking position. Wait. You're promoting me to be the Hokage? Silence, neither Hiruzen nor Yugao spoke. Old man, I know that you are, well, old and I am amazed and the strongest in the village. As well as charismatic, good-looking and great at everything I do, but, Naruto-kun, how to explain this to you? Hiruzen took a breath and thought about how to formulate his answer. Well, your power is undeniable, your character is not fit for being a Hokage. What? Neither are you a person anyone would entrust with the safety of others, that's why I'm the team captain, Yugao said with a taunting smirk. That's also why you were never given a squad as Jonin or Chunin. Wait. Why you can't disrespect me like that? I am a great leader, even a born leader. Show me some respect. The blonde said the last part with dark raining clouds over his head and his shoulders slumped. Hiruzen looked at the purple-haired Anbu operative who shrugged and elbowed the blonde. Boy, stop acting depressed. Easy for you say, you were given your squad, the blonde pouted and looked away. The third sighed and took a deep drag of his pipe, thanking all gods for it. Naruto-kun, well you might not be promoted to the Hokage, your task is still very important to the village's well-being and prosperity. Naruto looked out of the corner of his eye at the old man with an eyebrow quirked. I'm listening. We need you to act as a genin and join a particular team to make sure the two genin are kept safe, Hiruzen said with full seriousness, and he saw Naruto almost getting convinced at the idea. That is until Yugao started laughing out loud. Hiruzen sighed once again, reflecting how often he does it with the blonde around him. What you laughing at? Naruto asked, looking with narrowed eyes at his ex-captain. Do they want to turn you into a? She kept on laughing, unable to even process the image of the blonde tucking two genin in their beds and babysitting them. Yeah? Well, we will see who will do all the difficult missions for your squad now, ugly. The blonde said with a smirk, only to regret it when the woman decked him. Call me that one more time, and even the limitless won't save you, she said darkly, her eyes shadowed by her hair, making the hair on Naruto's neck stand stiffly. I was just joking around, no need for violence, he said with what he hoped looked like disarming grin. Geez, women are so scary, especially Yugao. So, old man, who do you need me to keep safe? The blonde said turning to the amused Hokage. The man picked up a scroll from between all the paperwork on his desk and gave it to Naruto, who skimmed over the content. Team 7, Jonin Sensei. Hada Kakashi, Rookie of the Year. Uchiha Sasuke, Kunoichi of the Year. Hyuga Hinata. I worked with worse, besides, it's been some time since I saw the Cyclops, the blonde thought with an amused smirk. Chapter 2, The Strongest. Friends. Oi. This is so unfair. What was the old monkey thinking? Naruto sulked looking at his new Konoha headband. I hoped I would stay a Jonin like when Kakashi was a kid. Hahaha. Little Naruto, the big bad Anbu, who calls himself the strongest is a genin again. A female voice cut in, not able to stop her giggling. Naruto looked at the person next to him and a tick mark appeared on his forehead. Stop laughing. This isn't funny, how are people supposed to respect me now? The blonde asked with a dark cloud over his head. Besides, should I remind you who just failed their Jonin promotion, Special Jonin Maki-Zenin? The blonde asked with a grin and dodged the kunai she flung at his head. Shut up. Not my fault I don't have some fancy bloodline like you, blondie. Jealous much? Naruto said with a snicker, causing his best friend to huff and turn away from him. The two were sitting in the Ichiraku ramen stand, once a small restaurant now was one of the biggest and most visited place in Konoha, after Naruto donated hefty sums of money to Tucci and helped him develop the humble stand. Naruto slurped some noodles and looked at the girl sitting next to him. She was 5 years older than him and a bit taller. Long dark green hair pulled in a short ponytail with two bangs framing her head and few fringes of hair over her forehead and golden eyes with round glasses, Maki had an unique appearance that many would call exotic. She was wearing a dark blue long-sleeved shirt with a standard Chunin flak jacket and a matching mid-thigh skirt, along with white knee-high socks and typical blue ninja sandals. She had her headband tightly secured around her forehead and kept her weapons and seals on her wrists. Naruto on the other hand was wearing a less standard outfit, consisting of a white button-up shirt with the top buttons undone, black civilian's pants and stylish black shoes. Together with his round sunglasses, one wouldn't ever imagine him to be a shinobi, but the Konoha headband lying next to his bowl said otherwise. What are you staring at? She asked weirdly, noticing the blonde kept him covered gaze on her for some time now. Was thinking, the blonde muttered, causing her to raise an eyebrow. You think? Why you? The blonde's eyebrow twitched and the chopstick in his hand broke. Maki smirked when she saw it was still so easy to get under the blonde skin, no matter how long they didn't see each other. So, what do you think of your future teammates? Maki asked and took a few bites from her own ramen. The blonde shrugged and signaled Am, Tuchi's daughter, for a new pair of chopsticks. Well, the Uchiha is supposedly a genius, so I will get to stomp on his ego, and the Hyuga girl is like any other Hyuga, stuck up and always proper and all that, so it will be entertaining to tilt her some. As for Kakashi, it will be fun making his work harder and maybe get him to go all out in a spar or something, God knows he needs some training after slacking off for so long, the blonde said, accepting new eating utensil from the brunette and thanking her. That's all? Maki asked and looked at the blonde with a questioning look. I mean, I am not on their squad to become their friend or anything, just make sure that Kakashi trains them well and keep an eye out when we get outside Konoha. You know, with the war on the horizon and all that stuff, you never know what the other nations may try. I see. Wait, what? Maki shouted, standing up, making everyone in the restaurant to look at her. She blushed slightly and apologized, sitting down. She turned to Naruto and whispered hotly. What do you mean with the war on the horizon? Naruto looked at her for a second before sighing. The blonde lowered his sunglasses and looked her in the eyes. Exactly how it sounds, Maki. It is still nothing certain, but the other countries are mobilizing and the higher up are making moves as well. Why do you think the village is having skill revisions on every shinobi? Why do all vets start training again? And the force training regimes and academy standards getting higher? Maki sat frozen in her place, not wanting to believe her friend, but she knew that Naruto was serious. She saw it in his eyes, but still, the thought was petrifying. After the 3 wars and the many peace treaties in Cage meeting, the diplomatic relations and the stable peacetime, a war was coming. She snapped back to reality when Naruto placed a hand on her shoulder and squeezed, reassuring her with a small, but honest smile. This information is known only to the higher-up clan head, Anbu and elite Jonin, so please don't spread it for now, okay? She gulped and nodded, but a though still ran through her head. Then why are you telling me this? The blonde chuckled and placed his sunglasses back on. Why wouldn't I? You are, after all, my best friend and I want to make sure you will be prepared, no matter what comes, alright? Maki couldn't do anything but nod mutely and went back to eating her ramen, yet more thoughts on her mind. She knew that her and Naruto were close friend, but didn't think he would breach protocol so blandly for her. A small smirk found its way on her wave face. Who am I kidding, it's Naruto, of course he doesn't care about protocol, he was always like this ever since she met him first time during her genin exams. Flashback, 5 years ago. This was it, the day Maki and 31 other academy students would officially become genin and adults in the eyes of the village. For her, it was a day she long awaited, no longer would she need to work in that small grocery shop to support herself, from today on she would become a proud kunoichi of Leaf and would live of her missions and support for shinobi who were in bad financial situations. You see, Zenin Maki was an orphan since birth, the last of her small clan of Zenin. A clan that sadly didn't have any assets or filled up coffers that she could live off. She was raised in a small village orphanage just outside Konoha that burnt down when she was 4. Since then, she was sent to Konoha where an elderly man took pity on her and offered her a job in his store. It was not a good paid job, but it was enough to allow her to live in the village and join the academy. From there on, she lived alone in the Hidden Leaf, hoping to one day become a kunoichi so that her financial problems would go away. That was her plan until she got to know what a shinobi did to earn money. At first, she thought of dropping the academy, but then she decided that one day she would earn enough money to open her own orphanage to help other children like herself, no matter what it would take. Since then, whenever she was not working or in the academy, she spent every free moment of her life training in the shinobi arts in hopes of achieving her dream. Upon realizing that the academy training would take her only so far, she decided to open the only thing she was left with in the orphanage. A detailed scroll written by her ancestors on the use of various weapons with the weapons sealed within the scroll. Wielding weapons came to her naturally, no matter what weapon she unsealed, her skills were praised by the academy instructors and any other shinobi who bothered to take notice of her training. Now, after 6 years of sweat, tears and blood, she was the rookie foe of the year with no competition from either girls or boys her age. And so, this lead us to today, the day she waited 6 years for. Anticipation and a rare feeling of nervousness ran through her. It was a no fact that the genin teams one was placed in was very important, both I the sense of who your comrades were, but also because of who your sensei would be and what mission one would take. She released a silent breath of excitement when she heard the door of the classroom open and saw her sensei, Yamato, walk in. However, the person next to the Chunin made her narrow her eyes. A blonde shrimp, wearing a white shirt, blue shorts, black shinobi sandals and round sunglasses, waltzed into the classroom with his hands in pockets and an arrogant smirk on his face. Kisuke, an impulsive boy who had ran for the title of second best in class, stood up and pointed a finger at the blonde. "Oi, sensei, who is this midget behind you?" A grin formed on his face when his friend and a few others laughed at the joke. Even Maki had to admit to smirking slightly. "Class, please clam down, this is." "Oi, I can introduce myself, old man," the blonde said, giving the chunin a look that made him dislike the blonde already. The teacher was about to reprimand the young boy before he remembered the words Hiruzen told him. "Naruto-kun is very special and he doesn't like to be ordered or talked back. The ones who tried it well, let's just say they are no longer in active shinboi duty." Maki's eyes widened at the clear disrespect towards the chunin and the lack of reaction from her very strict teacher. Naruto, on the other hand, didn't wait for the teacher's reaction before he spread his hands wide and said with a grin. "I'm Uzumaki Naruto, and one of you losers is going to be on a team with me." The class erupted in shouts of outrage at how the blonde insulted them. Maki herself scowled at this arrogant shrimp, but before anyone could say anything, Naruto's message reached the academy students. Kisuke, being the always loud one, narrowed his eyes at the blonde and asked for the whole class. "What do you mean by one of us, you midget?" The blonde frowned and turned his attention to his fellow blonde. "And who the hell are you?" Kisuke puffed out his chest and pointed at himself. "I'm Urahara Kisuke, be sure to remember the name, one day I will become an elite jonin." Naruto stared blankly, at least it appeared so because of his sunglasses, before sighing. "Tell me, Kisuke-chan, are you at least the rookie of the year?" The young blonde taunted. "And no, that would be Maki-chan," the older blonde said, pointing at the green-haired girl, who gritted her teeth when the blonde didn't even acknowledge her presence, instead looked at Kisuke with a bored expression. "Then, pray tell me, why someone like you dares to even talk to me?" "Someone like me?" the blonde asked in anger, balling his fists. "Yeah, you know, someone like you, a weakling, someone not even worth my attention." The room fell in silence as Naruto took of his sunglasses and his endless eyes met everyone in the class, making them freeze. "All of you are so weak, so," Naruto balled his fist a few times, looking for the right word. "So useless, none of you are anywhere as strong as I hoped you would be." This left everyone wide-eyed and speechless. The blonde put his sunglasses back and sighed in boredom. "Old man Hokage said I would be paired with the rookie of the year in a two-man cell with a jonin as our sensei, so meet me at the roof, Maki-chan," the blonde said mockingly before leaving the room with his hands in his pockets. After he closed the door, everyone turned to their sensei and bombarded him with questions as well as insult towards the blonde. "What he said is true, Maki, you are going to be paired with him, so please meet up with your new team at the roof." Everyone gave the girl looks of pity and some encouraging words, mostly to kick the arrogant brat's ass and show him how wrong he is. Through all this, the green-haired girl was seething with anger and a clenched fist at being dismissed so easily by someone so much younger than herself. Especially after the years of training she put in refining her skills and getting stronger. Flashback ends. Even after their less than good start, the two somehow became able to work together and even something akin to friend. And while they might have spent only a year together on the same team, since the blonde was promoted to chunin by Hokage himself, they kept in touch. This caused their relationship to blossom and it was not so unexpected. Both of them were loners, Maki because her cold outer attitude and focus on training, and Naruto because of his shitty personality, god complex and ego that was higher than the highest mountain in the lighting country. But with time, the both of them became good comrades and friends, which caused improvement in both of them. She had dropped her cold personality, but still remained pretty guarded in front of people she didn't know well, while Naruto, he still had ego the size of Hokage Monument and the god complex, but slowly his personality started improving. In the following years, when Naruto reached Jonin and she was promoted to Chunin after Chunin exams, Hiruzen saw how well the two worked together and how positively well they impacted each other and teamed them fairly often. But if Maki had to point out the moment which changed Naruto the most, it would be Earth to Maki, hello, hello. The blonde waved in front of her face. Maki snapped back to reality and swatted away the blonde's hand from her face with a scowl. "Can't even think without being interrupted these days," she muttered, but the blonde caught it and grinned. "Oh, you've been thinking how handsome and awesome I am? That's really sweet of you. I have been thinking about how big of an asshole you are and how bigger your ego is," she said with a smirk when the blonde hung his head down and dark clouds rained above his head. "That's who I mean, Maki-chan," the blonde drawled out in a childish voice. She sighed and looked at the clock across her. "Still have some time before I have to head back for mission briefing. I just hope Anko will not be late again," Maki thought with sweat drop, thinking about her friend, and turned to her Naruto. "Any progress with your how was it? Inverse chakra technique?" The green-haired special Jonin asked with an raised eyebrow and heard the blonde click his tongue in annoyance. The young Uzumaki sighed and leaned back in his chair. "It's called reverse chakra technique and no. It's so frustrating, like the word at the end of your tongue you can't remind yourself about," he explained with his head thrown back over the cushion. Maki nodded in sympathy, because while frustration over new techniques was nothing new for her, for Naruto, for whom everything he did came naturally and without effort, this was a new experience. A thought popped in her head as she looked at her friend. Maybe you need a push, you know. Something or more exactly someone to push you past your limits. Yeah. I thought about that, but who? No one I meet on my missions is anywhere strong enough. Old man Hokage and I can't go all out, and Jiraiya is who knows where riding his smut, and even then he would need to go sage mode and come at me with the intent to kill, and you know he doesn't like either of those, the blonde said with a resigned sigh and looked back at his friend. Well, you never know, maybe you will find someone soon, you know, with all those D-ranked mission you will be taking, the last Zenin said with a smirk, making the blonde pout at the fun she was poking at his new rank. Haha, very funny, hopefully you will get one day strong enough for me to get serious, he countered only for the green-haired girl to roll her eyes. Maybe, with a bit of luck I might find someone strong enough soon. Chapter 3. The Strongest. The Snake Sannin. Kakashi sighed looking at the sky, he estimated he still had 2 hours before he decided to meet his team. He mentally prepared himself for how the bell test would go and once again sighed. Who was he kidding? Even if they failed, what was impossible since Naruto knew about the purpose of the test, he would have to allow them to graduate and take them as a team, council orders. Honestly, what are they thinking? A team like this will cause unbalance between the other teams, all prodigies, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, Sharingan, Byakugan, the Rinnegan, and the Limitless. Oh well, I will let Naruto figure it out, maybe he has already something planned, Kakashi thought before once again looking at the time before shrugging and taking out his icha, giggling where no one would hear him. Naruto looked at Kakashi from distant trees, far enough that even the man's Sharingan wouldn't notice him, thanks to the Rinnegan, he was able to see everything in the slightest details, no matter how far it was, as long as it was in his line of vision. Typical, Kakashi, making everyone wait for you. I guess some things never change, he muttered with a small smile and turned in the other direction, looking at Team 8, consisting of Kiba, Shino, and Sakura under Kurenai. Naruto noticed the raven-haired beauty began her exam, and from the looks of things her team would pass. The blonde's attention shifted to Asuma who was leading the Ino Shikacho of the new generation, but to the blonde's amusement, the bearded Jonin was playing shogi versus Shikamaru, talking about gossip with Ino and eating chips with Choji. Well, at least they were enjoying themselves. With a single leap, Naruto landed on the ground and walked home. He still had about 2 hours before Kakashi would go to the academy, and in the meantime, he could relax some at his home. Naruto sighed in contentment, taking a sip of tea, imported from the land of Twilight, a moderate country finding itself on an island. It was also the westernmost country in the elemental nations. It cost him a fortune to have it imported to Konoha, not to mention the delivery time, which was 3 months. The fallen star tea was only produced in the land of Twilight, and they wouldn't tell anyone how they made it, which caused a few wars and conflicts already. Imagine, countries fighting over the recipe of a tea, but while the blonde thought how silly it sounded, he had to admit, while having drunk many types of teas, even in the best tea shops on the continent, the fallen star tea was his favorite. Behind Naruto, in a shadowed corner of his apartment, slitted golden eyes opened and watched the blonde carefully. In a single swift motion, a pale white hand shot out and hit its target. Naruto sighed and looked over his shoulder at the amused visage of the Snake Sannin. Orochimaru, the blonde greeted, giving the older man an annoyed look. The black-haired legend took a sip of the tea and smiled in contentment. Naruto-kun, how good to see you again. I would say the same, but you took my tea. Fukuku, it's really tasty, I almost wonder how much have you paid for it. Bri's rank missions. Now before you start talking again, is there something you wish to tell me, or is this just a social visit? The blonde asked seriously, turning his whole body to look at the snake summoner, who surprisingly became very serious. Very well, first, it's just as you suspected, there has been some movement in Suna, Kusa and Aim. The Megakur as well. Well, that's 5 villages that are mobilizing their forces, 3 of them are great villages. I am not sure if even Konoha would be able to fight this war. How are our relations with Kiri? The older shinobi sighed and looked out of the window. Kiri has been in isolation for the past few years, a civil war between the bloody Mizukage regime and the resistance, consisting of bloodline users and few people that wanted to pose the Yondaime. I see, so they have their hands full for the moment. What about the other thing I wanted to be checked, Orochimaru? The blonde asked and the pale man gave him a small smirk. Just as you suspected, there have been some movements on the island of Yuzu. I wasn't able to get anything definitive yet, but I am certain that once you venture there, you will be able to find what you're searching for. The blonde smiled at that and stood up. So there is the possibility that I am not the last Uzumaki, maybe some of them are still on the island, protecting it and waiting for my return. The blonde mused and turned to leave his house, seeing how it was about time Kakashi appeared on the clearing. Before leaving, he turned to the Sannin who was looking at him expectantly. You have done well, continue to observe the other villages' movement and inform me should anything of notice be noticeable. Ah, and if you would stumble upon who is the one leading the rebels in Kiri and get in contact with them, it would be most splendid." Without another word, the blonde left the Sannin with his orders. Some would scoff at the idea of the Orochimaru ever following a 12-year-old brat, no matter how strong they might have been, but the Sannin thought differently. He remembered the day the two met for the first time. It was nighttime in Konoha, a perfect time for the Snake Sannin to conduct his experiments on immortality and the various bloodline limits. Ever since Yondaime has been elected to lead the village instead of him, the dark-haired man has been disappointed and angry. Angry at Sarutobi, who ever since accepting him as one of his genin, told him about his potential and the hopes he had for Orochimaru to lead the villages one day. The old monkey went as far as playing favorites and giving him private lessons, not only in the shinobi arts, but in what he dubbed the leader courses. This, of course, added with the lack of parental figures for the Sannin, led to him being attached to everything Hiruzen has ever taught him in hopes of not disappointing his sensei and fulfilling the hopes the man held for him. That was until Minato came. Ever since then, the third distanced himself from Orochimaru, focusing more on the blonde, teaching and mentoring him on topics Jiraiya couldn't or did not know about. For a long time, Orochimaru remained hopeful, training and learning more for the sake of his effort being recognized by his sensei, but it seemed no matter what he did, and no matter how hard he tried, the old monkey's focus stayed on the young Namikaze. This led to Orochimaru feeling resentful at the third, and soon it turned to anger when the younger shinobi was chosen as Hiruzen's successor. The disappointment was aimed solely at him. A small part of him always remained Orochimaru that he wasn't good enough and that the Sandiums simply choose a better alternative. This led to Orochimaru's obsession with becoming more powerful and more knowledgeable, which in turn soon bloomed in experiments on the different talented shinobi in hopes of finding a way to better himself. The snake summoner concluded that a bloodline limit was something that could give him the edge he sought, and not too long after, he began with his experiments. However, with his still relatively young age, Orochimaru knew that he had to be quick, otherwise he never might find the answer he was looking for, and soon came the fear of dying. What would all his efforts matter if he died before achieving the pinnacle of being a shinobi? He knew that death was something unavoidable, no matter how strong you became. The best examples were Hashirama and Madara. They were seen as gods by other shinobi, but even then they succumbed to the grasp of the Reaper. An idea formed in his mind. If he never died, he would have all the time in the world to achieve the pinnacle of power and forever have it at his grasp, then undoubtedly he would be seen as the strongest, and all who doubted him, as Hiruzen, would cower at his feet. His experiments would be seen by most, if not by all, as immoral and sinful, but the Snake Sannin was sure that once he achieved his goal, none would dare to go against him. And so, the Pale Ninja was collecting the necessary subjects for his experiments. Some of them were the bodies of deceased shinobi, others were shinobi whose absence wouldn't be missed or could be explained as a mission going awry. A few of the subjects were simply orphans, for who no one would bat an eye trying to find out where they have gone. Some of them had Kekkei Genkais, while others were simple shinobi, some were strong, others were weak. But all of them were subjects that the Sannin could use. The night has been most fruitful. He snatched the body of a recently dead jonin who was killed on a mission, but his body was brought back to the village. Tomorrow would be his burial, and since neither was he well known nor had any close family, Orochimaru exchanged his corpse with a fake, knowing it would be enough to fool others. As he walked through an empty training ground towards one of his many secret bases in the village, he felt a set of eyes on his back. Slightly startled, the man turned around only to find a young boy looking at him through sunglasses, even though it was the middle of the night. He recognized him by the eyeglasses that usually covered his eyes and spiky blonde hair. Although he never met him, not wanting to meet the child of the man who took his dreams away from him, Orochimaru heard about Naruto. Putting his best disarming smile, Orochimaru greeted the boy. "Ah, you must be the famous Naruto, who everyone is talking about, and you are Orochimaru, the old man's student." "Yes, that would be me. Would you mind telling me what you are doing here, so late at night? Someone might attack or try to capture you, especially with how similar you are looking to your father." The blonde snorted and closed the distance between himself and the Sannin. "You kidding? Anyone who would try this probably has a death wish." This intrigued Orochimaru. Well, he heard of the boy and his 2 bloodline limits, he was not aware of how strong the boy was. Surely, a 6-year-old wouldn't be strong enough to be this confident. Or maybe this was pure arrogance. "Well, no matter how much I would like to talk more with you, I have some places to be, so if you excuse me," the Sannin said and turned around. "What do you need the corpse for?" The pale man froze. Not turning to face the blonde, he asked. "I have no idea what you're talking about." Surely, the kid had no evidence, right? "I'm talking about the corpse you took from the mortuary, you know, this jonin." "Shit. Has he been following me for so long? I didn't even sense his presence." "No, what's more important, he has evidence. If anyone ever discovers this, I am done." The older man narrowed his eyes, his chakra surging through his body. In a single moment, he was standing 10 meters away from the child. The next, Orochimaru was behind him, a kuani drawn and poised to strike. Only, it didn't strike. The Sannin's eyes widened as he saw the knife stop a few inches away from the blonde, and a bead of sweat slid down his face. The blonde didn't react instantly, instead, his head craned slowly to look at Orochimaru, his cold blue eyes peeking at the Sannin from under his sunglasses. And then, Orochimaru saw and felt it, the power behind these eyes. The presence felt overwhelming, even with his experience and strength, it felt like he was a mere pebble compared to a mountain. The weight of Naruto's power promised to squash him like a bug, an unworthy obstacle that wasn't even worth being looked at by those eyes. He tried to peer his gaze away, to create distance and use his repertoire of ninjutsu to fight this monster, but he stood still, lost in those eyes. Most shinboi wouldn't ever come close to feeling the power Naruto held, just because they were unable to imagine the scope of it, but Orochimaru, who was one of the strongest shinobi alive and a talented censor, who saw beasts like the Biju and monsters like the Sandame, Yondame, and Hanzo of the Salamander himself, he was able to truly see the extent of this beautiful power. At this moment, the Sannin understood the limitless difference between him and the child, blessed with powers as divine as the Rinnegan. He was snapped back to reality when the blonde took a step away and looked at him with a raised eyebrow. "You good?" "I asked what you need the corpse for, not to try and attack me," the blonde said, his hands in his pockets, looking at the Sannin with a curious expression. The man lowered the knife and swallowed hard. "For my experiments," he muttered, knowing that if it came to it, he stood no chance, not yet at least. "Experiments? And you need a corpse for that? What are you researching?" "I'm in search of power and immortality," the blonde looked at him with an interested expression before smiling. "Power, huh? Good to know. Hey, tell you what, if you work for me, I will help you." Orochimaru couldn't believe what he just heard. The absurdity of him, one of the Sannin to work under a child, made him chuckle. "Yes? And how could you help me?" he asked, amused at the prospect of working for the blonde. "You know, if it's corpses you need, I can bring you a lot of them once I become a shinobi, strong and special one, unlike this jonin. And what do you expect in return, then?" "I believe it's too good of an offer for you to not want anything in return." "You're right. I need someone who will help me with some projects, yay, let's call it like this. And of course, once you find the power you are looking for, I will want to fight you, to compare our powers." The snake summoner was speechless. While he held no love for Konoha and planned to abandon it one day, he didn't expect to become a follower of the Uzumaki boy. Nevertheless, it wasn't a bad offer, after all, following possibly the strongest person in the world would mean more protection for him, which would give him more time to achieve immortality. With a chuckle, he nodded and clasped the boy's hand when he extended it. "I hope our partnership will be most fruitful," the Sannin declared, and Naruto grinned. "Of course, it will be." And as it turned out, the partnership was very fruitful, Orochimaru may be bold enough to say. With the help of the blonde, the pale man was able to make many breakthroughs in his research, which would take him much longer without the subjects acquired by the blonde. With time, the partnership even turned to loyalty on Orochimaru's part. He saw how fast the blonde was progressing, how strong he was becoming, and because of this Orochimaru saw a glimpse of himself in the blonde. Maybe he was just becoming older and more sentimental, but the black-haired man wanted to see what Naruto would do, what he would achieve. The snake summoner wanted to be at the heart of the changes the blonde would bring. Naruto landed silently on a branch outside the academy and saw his assignment, the Hyuga girl and the Uchiha boy. He grinned, thinking about how to prank them already. Well, maybe being a genin wouldn't be so bad, at least he would have Kakashi to make fun of the two genins. Honestly, they are both called geniuses, yet here they are, 12 in genin. If Itachi ever heard of this, even he would crack a smile. Well, better get going, Kakashi will be here any moment. Chapter 4, The Strongest. Team 7. Uchiha Sasuke was not amused, not a bit. Scratch that, he was downright pissed. Of course, many that knew or even just heard about the young boy wouldn't find that surprising, as he usually adorned a scowl on his face and usually ignored everything and anyone around him. That behavior was caused by the tragic event that happened a few years ago, yet his today's bad mood was not because of that reason. The day started like any other, he woke up and trained for an hour, after which he took a shower and ate his breakfast before heading to the academy for the team placement. Once arriving, he was annoyed by his fangirls, the most vocal of them all, like any other day were Sakura and Ino. How the two got on his nerves, couldn't they understand that he would rather have Itachi announced as a hero than go on a date with him? Anyway, after being saved, once again, by Iruka, the man started his speech with how proud he was and wished them luck on their journeys as shinobi. Luck, as if he would need any. Only the countless hours of training that he put himself through and his resolve to avenge his clan would mean anything in the face of an enemy. That was the only thing that mattered. Strength, power, and anything that might help him achieve his goal. But not luck. After going through 6 teams, Sasuke finally heard his name. Team 7. He just hoped that whoever his teammates would be, they were competent enough to not hold him back. Hada Kakashi was his sensei. Well, the young Avenger didn't know about the man, he did hear Itachi the bloody traitor praise him once. Good, if his clan's murderer praised someone, it meant they were strong and competent. Hopefully, he would also be a good teacher. His first teammate was Hyuga Hinata. While he never spoke to her, he didn't need to. She was the second top student in the class, and Sasuke had seen her spars with his own eyes and could say that somewhere, in the back of his head, he was happy to have her on his team. Of course, he would never admit to it, but the Hyuga girl was the best choice for his teammate. Now, just to get at least a competent or non-annoying second teammate and the Uchiha would be pleased. Now here is where it all began to turn bad. Your team will be joined by a genin that is in the reserve corps, he should arrive together with your sensei. Sasuke cursed under his breath, his pleased mood from having Hinata on his team quickly forgotten. A reserve corps genin was someone who passed the academy but didn't have a team. That meant they either were left behind by their team, which became Chunin, or whose team was killed. The fresh genin didn't know which one he preferred, both alternatives meant that whoever that reserve genin was wouldn't just hold him back. Soon, the whole class had been placed on their respective teams and Naruto left the classroom, telling them to wait here for their Jonin sensei to arrive. Not long after, a small group of Jonins entered the classrooms and the fresh genin started to leave the room. Fast forward to an hour later, Hinata and Sasuke were the only ones left. With a scowl on his face, the Uchiha turned to his teammate and grunted when her face was the perfect poker face she always wore. The last loyal Uchiha wondered for a moment what went through the Hyuga clan heiress's head before abandoning the idea. It was impossible to deduce what she might be thinking about. Hyuga Hinata was the perfect representation of her clan, always calm and cold like a stone. No matter what happened, her expression never changed, at least as far as anyone in the academy remembered. Having been raised by her strict father Hiashi and the Hyuga elders, she was the definition of a perfect clan heiress. Ever since she could remember, she was training, pushing to her limits, and learning whatever her father deemed necessary. There was no room for mistakes neither in her fighting techniques, knowledge, or even etiquette. All her mistakes were beaten out of her by the very person she loved and adored, her father. Yet she never cried, she never got frustrated, she never faltered. The Hyuga clan is after all the most noble and prestigious clan in the village, and if their heiress was not perfect, then what does that speak of them all? Sometimes, she wondered what it would be like to be raised by a mother who loved her, by a father that showed more emotions than a rock, or with a sister she could freely talk to, without the fear of being punished for talking about mundane topics that an heiress was above to talk about. However, whenever such thoughts occurred in her head, she squashed them like a bug. She was the clan heir, and the only thing that mattered was to bring honor and renown to her family, such was her duty. That, of course, didn't mean the girl didn't feel emotions, she did, just like any other human. But unlike others, she didn't show them or acted upon them, she never let others see anything besides perfection, yet the emotions bubbled under her stone-cold mask. And currently, the only emotion she was feeling was irritation. An hour. Who did this Kakashi think he was making them wait a whole hour? Has she been raised differently or wasn't trained as well as she was, the girl might have just snapped, but she did not. She sat there, waiting patiently, just like her father would expect her to. The two fresh genin were cut off from their thought when the door to the classroom opened. Two pairs of eyes, one onyx and the second lavender, snapped the door faster than they did ever before, ready to leave this room behind and start their careers. A head peeked into the room, brown hair pulled into a spiky ponytail, and a scar on the bridge of a nose greeted them. The two showed their frustration differently, the Uchiha groaned lowly, and the Hyuga narrowed her eyes. Iruka blinked twice upon seeing them still in his room and gave them an apologetic smile. "Sorry, I just came back for some papers," the man said and fished out a stack of papers from his desk before leaving the two alone again. Hinata felt her right eye twitch in annoyance and Sasuke grumbled something under his breath before leaving back and started brooding. The time flew by quickly. At least that's what Hinata wanted to say, but she couldn't because it did not. For a moment, she entertained the thought of standing up and leaving the classroom, but decided against it, not knowing how her new sensei would react. During the time she spent holed in the class, she imagined all the reasons why a Jonin would be late for something as important as this, yet it didn't help to quell her annoyance for making her wait this long. After another hour went by since Iruka entered the room doors were opened. Both Hinata nor Sasuke didn't even turn this time around, expecting Iruka to come for more papers or something else. The two jumped when an unfamiliar voice spoke up. "First impression, you two seem boring. Meet me at the rooftop and don't be late, you have 2 minutes." Without another word, the man turned into white smoke that quickly dispersed. Speechless, Sasuke watched the place where the man stood with an open mouth. He turned to his teammate when he heard her speak. He just told us not to be late." This Hinata had to use every technique she was taught to keep her cool under control. With a barely restrained growl, she stood up quickly enough to send her chair to the floor and stomped out of the room. Well, that's new, Sasuke muttered, shocked at how expressive the Hyuga was. Not wanting to be late, he followed Hinata to the roof. On top of the building, Kakashi was leaning on the railing, reading his Icha when he heard a pop next to him. Lowering his book and turning to where the sound came from, Kakashi gave an eye smile. Ah, Naruto, good to see you again. I see you have gotten the teleportation down. Yo, Kakashi. Yeah, but I still need to work some on it, Naruto said, taking a place next to the silver-haired ninja and crossing his hands. Oh my, to hear the Naruto Uzumaki speak about having to work on something is surprising, Naruto pouted at the mirth filling Kakashi's voice. Hey, I know I am awesome and all that, but sometimes even the best needs some fine-tuning. Right, I also heard about you being demoted to Genin. At this, a tick appeared on the blonde's head. Yeah, that's total bullshit. I thought the old man would just make me Genin in name, but I would retain my Jonin status. But no. He had to fully demote me to keep the files clear and all that. Well, the paperwork for making you undercover in your village would probably be a nightmare. See if I care, now I can't even enter the Jonin bar. Do you understand, Kakashi? I was there yesterday and Juji told me he can't let me in, and that asshole was giggling. Giggling, you hear me? Oh, how the mighty have fallen, Naruto said with a sullen look. That was the first thing Hinata and Sasuke saw upon arriving on the roof. Kakashi noticed them arrive and gave them an eye smile, creeping the two fresh genin out. How nice of you to join us, come on, sit down, the Jonin said and pointed to a wooden bench. Naruto was the first to take a seat, taking half of the bench for himself, making Hinata and Sasuke scowl at him before sitting next to him, trying to find a comfortable position. Well, let's start with an introduction. Kakashi said with a bit of uncertainty, making the three sweat drop. Not my fault they sit there glaring at me, the genin before them usually started talking, not me, the Jonin thought, and when neither of the three said anything sighed, sending a glare to the blonde who was watching him with a shit-eating grin. Stupid blonde jerk, the Jonin muttered under his breath before clearing his throat. Hey, my name is Hada Kakashi, my like are well, my dislikes are I have some hobbies, and my dream is not something for young ears like you to hear, Hinata scowled at him, and Sasuke scoffed. Naruto, on the other hand, was cackling at the silver-haired man, who sighed. Well, let's start with the little blonde model, Hinata could see why he called him so. A white button-up shirt, black branded civilian slacks that looked expensive, and black leather shoes that were currently the new hit in fashion among important business people. This coupled with his round, black sunglasses and lack of his headband, he looked nothing like the shinobi part. Name's Uzumaki Naruto, my likes. Cute girls, drinking and gambling. My dislikes. Weak people and people who can't entertain me. My hobbies. Drinking in the company of cute girls and kicking butts. My dream. Ha, that's an easy one. To find someone strong enough to put up a challenge, fight them, get stronger, and then crush them to the ground, along with their dreams and hopes. Hinata was starting to dislike the boy more and more while hearing his introduction, but his dream surprised her, not expecting to hear something so cold from a person that seemed to take the shinboy life as nothing more than a joke. That with the short but intense killing intent when he spoke about crushing someone, made the Hyuga princess wary. Maybe there is more to him than seems. But, finding someone to challenge him. That shouldn't be too hard for a genin, Hinata thought quietly. Sasuke, on the other hand, was losing all hope of the blonde being useful in any way. Seriously, to find someone strong is a challenge. This dude is a genin and a reserve one at that. How big of an ego does he have? Kakashi gave the blonde an eye smile. Charming like always, alright, duck butt, you're next, the Jonin said, shifting his attention to Sasuke. Said young Uchiha scowled at the nickname before assuming a brooding pose. My name is Uchiha Sasuke. There are not many things I like and a lot I dislike. I don't have any hobbies and my dream, no, my ambition, because I will make it a reality, is to kill a certain man. A short silence followed before Naruto burst out laughing. The other members of the team turned to the blonde, one with a raised eyebrow, one with a sigh, and the third with a glare. What are you laughing about? Sasuke asked, daring the blonde to say anything. Naruto, not in the least intimidated, continued to laugh for a moment longer before regaining his breath. He gave Sasuke a look filled with mirth and leaned back. Ah, sorry, I just love your Prince of Emo attitude. It's so funny, like there are not many things I like and a lot I dislike. Oh dude, that was brilliant. The blonde said before bursting once more into laughter. The last Uchiha was second from exploding, and having noticed this, Kakashi decided to intervene. Sasuke needed to be able to take the test, after all, and even a light scuffle with Naruto wouldn't end well for the black-haired teen. Kakashi cleared his throat and gave the blonde a look from the corner of his eye, hoping against all odds that the blonde would shut up. As luck would have it, Naruto seemed to be in a good mood and followed the silent plea, stopping his laughter. Maybe having someone he can make fun of will make it easier for him to follow orders. Thought for another time. Turning to the third and last member of his team, Jonin spoke. What about you, poker face? If she was offended by the nickname, the young Hyuga didn't show it a bit. My name is Hyuga Hinata, my likes and dislikes are irrelevant. My hobbies consist of training and learning, and my dream is to bring pride to my clan's name and become a good clan head. The silver-haired Jonin groaned on the inside. Great, I have a team consisting of an Avenger hell-bent on killing his brother, a powerful brat that loves to annoy others, and a Hyuga that shows as much emotion as Hiashi himself. Great, just great. Okay, now that we have this behind us, let's get down to business. Usually, I would put you through a test that would show if you can work as a team, however, I have been ordered to pass you anyway, so we will be doing something different. What do you mean? Kakashi was slightly surprised to hear the Hyuga talk. From what he got in her files, she was as quiet as Sasuke. Apparently, playing cold didn't mean she was silent, at least it was a good development. You know, some small training to see how strong you are and all that. No, meant what do you with being ordered to pass us? Ah, that. Well, you and Sasuke are both of very important lineage and all that, so the council has decided to make sure that you two need to become genin and get strong. So, even if normally I would fail you if you showed no signs of teamwork, I have to pass you. But that said, meet me tomorrow at 6 in the morning at training ground 7, don't be late. Without another word, the silver-haired Jonin puffed away, leaving the 3 genin on the roof, 2 of which glared where he stood a moment ago, and 1 with an amused grin. So, my little teammates, Naruto said, turning to Sasuke and Hinata with a charming smile. Get some ramen and get to know each other better. He made a pose he saw a model do once, with his sunglasses giving a spark and all, only for the two to look at him with deadpan expressions. Sasuke walked away without another word. Creep, the Hyuga heiress answered and spun on her heel, leaving the blonde alone on the rooftop. Naruto pouted and left soon after with a rain cloud above his head. Attempt number 1, fail. Oh, well, maybe another time. I have to tell old man Tucci to keep that extra spicy sauce locked away for the future. The next morning, arriving at training ground 7, Kakashi was met with 2 angry and very sleepy glares coming from his 2 genin. Yo, sorry I am late, but a black cat crossed my path, so I had to take the long path, he said with an eye smile. Are you going to be late every time? This came from Hinata, who looked ready to kill their sensei on the spot. Honestly, what self-respecting jonin is so late 2 days in a row? Of course not, I am usually the most punctual person you will ever know, Kakashi answered with a small laugh. Wherein Hinata seemed to be at least a bit convinced, Sasuke saw right through the lie and sighed at the jonin sensei he got. Now that we all are here, where is the blonde idiot? The Uchiha voiced out his question, only to jump when a hand chopped the top of his head. He spun on his heel only to find a grinning blonde, still in his castle setup. I was here all the time, up in the trees. I didn't even sense him. These were the thought of both Hinata and Sasuke. Kakashi smirked at the 2 shocked expressions, knowing very well that Naruto appeared just a moment ago. As I was saying, now that we are all here, we will start our small test. So, what are we going to do? This time it was the blonde who asked the question plaguing the 3 genin and their jonin rushed to explain. I want to see where the 3 of you stand individually to assess your strengths and weaknesses. For this, we are going to have each of you fight against me in one-on-one spars. The other 2 are to observe and 2, to learn how strong your teammates are. Who is going first? Sasuke was excited to prove his power against a jonin, and this was the perfect opportunity to see how much he has improved. This would also allow him to see whether the blonde was worth anything else than a meat shield on missions. Since you were the first to ask, let's begin with Hinata. Ladies fist and all that, Kakashi answered, motioning for the Hyuga to come forward, getting a grunt from Sasuke. While Naruto and Sasuke sat down under a tree nearby to watch the match, Kakashi and Hinata walked a bit away to have some space. Remember, go all out, the purpose here is to show me and your team how strong you are. Once the Hinata entered her stance, Kakashi put his hand on his jonin vest and narrowed his hand. A heavy silence hung in the air, Hinata's face not showing any distress, but she was a bit stressed on the inside. It would be her first time fighting someone outside the clan. She had to make a good impression, she had to uphold her clan's reputation, after all. Begin, Hinata quickly dashed forward to close the distance. When she was in the middle of the distance, she saw Kakashi grab something from his jonin vest and aborted her dash. You good? The silver-haired jonin asked, opening his Icha book, getting a glare from the Hyuga heiress. Come on, let's see what you can do. Hinata was angry, not only because disrespecting her by reading a book, but also because it was Icha, the detestable book written by the pervert Jiraiya. Without another word, she dashed forward, her fingertips imbued with chakra, lashing out quicker than a viper. First strike to Kakashi's wrist, slapped away, a second to his biceps, slapped away, another to his elbow, blocked by the very book he was reading. A quick jab from the Jonin nailed her in the face, making her lose her balance before a roundhouse kick sent her to the ground. Under the tree, Naruto let his thoughts know to the Uchiha. Wow, she is very fast. The blonde commented, of course, comparing her to a normal genin. Sasuke heard his remark and scoffed. If this is very fast for him, he must be either slow or just weak. Ugh, of course, I would get someone like him on my team still. Even though Hinata was just a genin, Kakashi didn't change his position even once, showing Jonin's experience and strength. At least the Jonin seems strong. Back to the fight, Hinata darted around Kakashi, trying to find a weak point in the Jonin's defense, but her effort remained fruitless. After a few minutes of being unable to hit the Jonin and only getting kicked back for all her effort, Hinata jumped back to assess the situation. He is fast, hits heavy, and sees right through all my attacks, even from his blind side. There is no way for me to land a hit. I could try the 8 trigrams techniques, but seeing how all frontal attacks ended, it won't work. Okay, good job Hinata, I think I have seen enough of your offense, let's test your defense, what about it? Without waiting for another second, Kakashi shot forward, and a right hook shot out. Hinata had just enough time to move her head back to avoid it. A kick lashed out at her torso, and Hyuga tried to deflect it with her gentle fist, but the strength behind it sent her away. Without showing any effect of his tenketsu being closed in his leg, the Jonin appeared behind Hinata with a kick to her head, for which she had merely a moment to respond. In the last second, she jumped away, rolling back to her stance. Kakashi continued his offense, but this time she was prepared. Hinata jumped over the leg sweep and stepped to the side to avoid the punch, trying, yet failing to land a tap on the wrist, only to get punched in the gut with enough strength to lift her up and send her flying again. The Hyuga heiress rolled to a stop, wheezing and holding her gut in pain. Kakashi walked towards her slowly, stopping a few meters away, and waited for her to stand up. Catching her breath, Hinata raised to her feet and re-entered her fighting stance, her Byakugan turning on. So you decided to get serious? Kakashi asked with a bored expression. So far, he was disappointed. If this is what they call a genius nowadays, the standards must have really fallen low. Hinata charged forward and met Kakashi in a vicious, quick, and precise taijutsu battle. Every move was executed as fast as she possibly could, pushing to her very limits. Yet, it was not enough. Ugh. Hinata landed on the ground, breathless. Alright, that will do, the Kunoichi looked up and saw the eye smile. I think that's enough for now. Go join Naruto under the tree and rest up. Come on, Sasuke, your turn. Hinata limped under the shade of the tree and sat down. Even now, beaten up and tired, she did it with more dignity than Naruto ever saw anyone else did. It must suck to be so formal all the time, the blonde thought with a grin and leaned to the girl. That was good, I mean, I would do a few things better, but not bad. Hinata scowled at him, making the blonde chuckle and relax, turning back to the already ongoing spar. Wherein Hinata's fighting style was stiff and more systematic, the Uchiha's taijutsu style was more flowing with the flow of the battle, adapting to the Jonin's attacks, and trying to lure him into attacking suing feints. Sasuke threw a punch after dodging a kick, but pulled back at the last moment and tried to sweep the Jonin off the ground. Kakashi responded as expected and jumped up, making the Uchiha launch a rising kick. The Jonin caught the foot and tried to make Sasuke lose balance by throwing it up, only for the Uchiha to make a flip and try to nail him in the chin with his other foot. Kakashi had no problem avoiding the kick and retaliating with a kick of his own, sending the young genin back. Sasuke was able to correct himself in the air and push himself further back, rushing through hand seals before letting out a large orb of fire toward his sensei. He landed in a crouch when he saw his Jutsu hit, only to be blindsided by a punch to the face that made him lose footing, followed by a second punch and a kick to the chest. He rolled with the last kick on pure instinct before spinning and throwing a fist of kunai towards the silver-haired man who caught the first one and used it to deflect the other 3. I can see that you're cut above the ordinary genin. Your taijutsu is very good and your chakra reserves must be above average and you have sharp instincts. Sasuke smirked at the assessment, clearly liking being praised. But your attacks lack strength, the jutsu was slow, and your reflexes are not as quick as they could be. This caused the Uchiha to scowl. That's something we must work on, okay. Next, let's go with Naruto, the Jonin said with a small sigh and waited for the blonde to join him in the middle. Sasuke sat down next to Hinata and observed how their last teammate would do, not having any high hopes. How do you think he will do? Hyuga was the first one to initialize the conversation. Sasuke gave her a quick glance before turning back to the clearing, where the two were speaking in low voices, so the two wouldn't hear. He was impressed by your speed and called it very fast. If your speed is very fast for him, then there is no hope. Maybe he prefers a different style of combat. A genjutsu or ninjutsu specialization. Hinata's eyebrow twitched at the grunt. Their attention was drawn to the outputs of chakra back to the two combatants. A moment before, Naruto stood in front of his supposed Jonin sensei with a grin. Cyclops, any rules? Could you not call me that? Kakashi asked with another sigh before placing his book back in the vest. Maybe just some light sparring, you know, not to scare the cute genin. Nah, were the last word the blonde said before starting to leak his chakra. At first, it began at the Chunin level, and before Kakashi knew it, the pressure of the blonde's chakra made his instincts scream. He lost a feeling in his limbs and was forced to push out his chakra too, to prevent the paralysis. Hinata with her Byakugan activated, couldn't believe what she saw. While she and Sasuke were far enough to avoid being hit with the pressure, they still felt some of it. This is impossible. The blonde is matching Kakashi-sensei's output, sweat formed on her brow, and she had to clench her fist to stop them from trembling. Sasuke was in a similar boat. He looked at the two with wide eyes, and while he had no proof, for some reason something told him that it was Kakashi that was matching the output and not the other way. Alright, just some light sparring, got it, Cyclops. Kakashi tensed, his eye watching every move the blonde made. His eye widened when the blonde vanished, followed by the sound of wind being distorted. Purely on instinct, he jumped to the side to avoid a crushing kick that left a small crater in the ground. Not wasting any time, he enhanced his body with chakra before lashing out with a combo of punches and kicks. Naruto had no problem blocking and deflecting them. He pushed a kick away, and in the small opening, he launched 3 punches at the Jonin's chest, making him skid away. There was a silent pop, and Naruto appeared mid-air behind Kakashi with a kick flying, which the silver-haired man caught and sent the bond into the ground. The genin shrugged it off before kicking off the ground and launching a frontal kick at Kakashi, who, in the future would look at this moment with embarrassment, was sent flying through the whole training ground. He skipped on the ground 3 times before pushing himself to his feet, throwing 3 kunai at the blonde. Naruto, already rushing at his opponent, batted the projectiles away and flew at the Jonin with a flying kick. Kakashi dodged the attack and launched a barrage of attacks with punches and kicks. The two entered a fierce taijutsu battle, each hit with the power to knock out a Chunin. Their speed was faster than anything both Hinata and Sasuke ever saw, so much that they were nothing more than a blur to the two. How? How is he so strong? He is matching Sensei, no. He is pushing him to the limit. The battle came to a still when Kakashi flew through the training ground, hitting the ground multiple times. He was bruised and bloody, various cuts littering his outfit. Naruto appeared in front of the silver-haired man with an easygoing expression, hand in his pockets, and not a single bruise on his body. Kakashi groaned and slowly climbed to his feet. Had fun? Yup, embarrassing you in front of your 2 new genin. Perfect payback. Payback? The Jonin asked with a confused look. Naruto tilted his head to the side and nodded. Yep, payback for telling Yugao about me reading Icha Icha. You know the beating I had gotten for this. Kakashi looked at him with an incredulous look. Seriously? That was 2 years ago. Naruto nodded with a proud expression, making the older man groan. Besides, how bad could it have been? This made the blonde shiver and look at his current teammate. You have no idea. Let's go back to see if we didn't scare the other two too bad. They walked towards the 2 genin and could already see their shocked and awe expressions. Even Hinata was too stunned by what she saw to put on her cold facade. What do you think? Naruto asked with a small grin, breaking the two from their stupor. How are you this strong? What? Naruto gave the Uchiha a puzzled look before smirking. Well, I am so strong, because I am blessed. What does that even mean? This time, it was Hinata, who was back to her usual expression, yet the curiosity in her eyes couldn't avoid the 6 eyes. That's a stupid question. Look, Naruto lowered his glasses and showed them to the 2 surprised genin. These are the most powerful eyes in the world, having appeared only 2 times before. They grant me, among other things, a vastly superior perception. You could show me a page with 100 different words on it, and I would only need a second to read all of them. That's not a reason good enough for your claim, Sasuke grunted with narrowed eyes, making Naruto laugh. Of course not, it also allows me similar abilities to the Byakugan, but superior. Enhanced sight, up to a few kilometers in the highest resolution, coupled with a brain processing enhancement, lets me look far away and see everything there is. It also shows me chakra to the point of me being able to not only understand it better than anyone. That lets analyze and break down every jutsu used against me, together with seeing chakra signatures down to the user's very elemental chakra. And now comes the reason why he's called the strongest in the village, Kakashi muttered, making the other 2 look at him. What do you mean? Well, he is known mostly by the council, elite jonin, and the Anbu, since it was decided to keep his identity a secret for some time now, but all those that knew about him consider him the strongest person in the village, something that even Hokage-sama confirmed. Well, how come he is still a genin? Kakashi shrugged and took out his Icha Icha. I am certain Hokage-sama and the council have their reasons. Well, coming back, my second bloodline. You have 2. Hinata couldn't believe it, it was absurd. Ha! Of course, that's why I am blessed. The second Uzumaki Kekkei Genkai, one that awakens in every 10th member of my clan, the Limitless, it allows me to bring the concept of infinity into reality and allows me to manipulate space and time itself. One ability of the limitless is infinity, making a barrier of infinity around my body. Now you have to be making this up. Naruto shook his head at the Hyuga's remark and caught her wrist, bringing it to his other hand. See? You can't touch me, there is an infinite distance between us, so our hands will never touch. But I saw your punch hit Kakashi-sensei. Ah, I can turn it off, of course. With that said, Naruto turned his infinity off and took Hinata's hand into his. See? The Hyuga clan heiress pulled it away and gave him a dangerous look, making the blonde chuckle. Of course, I am the only one that can use the limitless to this degree, thanks to my 6 eyes. That's why I called myself blessed. I am the strongest and I doubt there is anyone who can defeat me. That's why I want to find someone who is my equal and destroy them, Naruto said with a boisterous laugh. Alright, now that that's done, you are officially Team 7. Meet me here at 8 tomorrow for our first mission and training, don't be late. Without another word, the Jonin vanished in a puff of smoke. I will be going, see ya, losers. With a silent pop and displacement of the air, the blonde vanished without another trace of himself. Sasuke was still scowling, yet left without another word, making Hinata sigh. At least we know he is strong. In the Hokage Tower, the word started to spread of how Kakashi arrived not only on time, but looking like he fought a band of Jonins and passed a Genin team. Chapter 5. The Strongest. Wave. Late at night on the day of the team's official formation, Hyuga Hiashi was sitting in his study, going through the endless nightmare that was paperwork. How he cursed the work, he was a shinobi, not some secretary to be spending days and nights at his desk. Oh, how he wished to return back to active duty, to at least get a good reason to take a break. His prayers seemed to have been fulfilled as there was a knock on his doors. For a moment he wondered who it might be, after all, everyone knew not to disturb him while he was working. He silently once again cursed Minato for not sharing his secret and for making a short work of the paperwork. The Hyuga clan head cleared his throat and ordered whoever was in front of his study to enter. It was followed by the sound of the door sliding to the side and, to Hiashi's surprise, his heir was standing there with a troubled expression. It was highly unusual for Hinata to express emotions outwards, something Hiashi was still blaming himself for. As a clan head, he was proud of how she carried herself with pride and elegance befitting of her position, but as a father, it hurt him to see his firstborn daughter like this. That is something that came with the position of a clan head, he had to put the clan first and sometimes even go against his own wishes. Father, the young heir greeted as she sat down in front of Hiashi with a small bow. Hinata, what's the matter, you should be resting. There was a short silence, and the girl looked even more confused. Now that piqued the Hyuga clan head's interest. While Hinata would sometimes break her facade in front of him and Hanabi, it was rare for her to have problems saying her thoughts to him. I met my team today, I am aware. I am also aware that you passed. Is it about your sensei? While Kakashi-san's tardiness might seem problematic, I can assure you he is one of the best Jonin in Konoha, even in the elemental nations. No, it's not about Kakashi-sensei, it's about one of my teammates, Uzumaki Naruto. Hinata looked at her father with a quizzical expression when the man sighed and leaned back in his chair. He declared himself as the mighties. The man asked, massaging his temples. The young Hyuga girl was slightly surprised that her father would react this way, since it was one of the few rare times she had seen him show such an outward reaction. The strongest. Ah, yes, the boy wonder likes his titles, the man said dryly. Am I to assume you wish to know more about him, as well as why the knowledge about his strength is not well known in the village? Hinata nodded silently, making Hiashi arrange his thoughts for a moment in silence before he began to speak again. Very well, make yourself comfortable, there is more to the boy than it seems. In the Uchiha clan compound, more specifically in the clan head office, Sasuke was looking through various folders on important personas in the village. Ever since the massacre occurred a few years prior, Sasuke had not stepped into this part of his home, not being allowed to see the images of his parents' blood on the floor. However, after meeting his team and hearing what the annoying blood proclaimed, his curiosity won over. Yuzuki, no, Yuzu, yes, Uzumaki Kushina. No. This one, Uzumaki Naruto. He pulled the folder out and placed it on his father's desk, taking a seat at the very same place Fugaku once sat whenever he was working from home. Sasuke opened the folder and started reading the reports. Name: Uzumaki Naruto. Birthday: October 10th. Parents: Uzumaki Kushina and Namikaze Minato. He is the son of the fourth. The Uchiha whispered with a surprised expression. Uzumaki Naruto, shinobi registration number 012607, has graduated from the Ninja Academy at the age of 7. Teammates: Zen and Maki, shinobi registration number 012612. Jonin Sensei. Redacted shinobi registration number redacted. Redacted? What does that mean? Sasuke muttered under his breath with furrowed brows. As far as he knew, even rogue ninjas didn't have their registration numbers redacted, so what was this and why did it appear in the blonde's papers? And seriously? Just one teammate. Junin promotion age: 8. Jonin's promotion age. 8. Seriously, what's the deal with him? 2 promotions in the same year, this is getting ridiculous. Missions assigned. 7 D rank missions, 26 C rank missions, 61 B rank missions, 38 A rank missions, and redacted S rank missions. Missions failed. 0. Note. The number of missions might be higher, last update 1st September, 762 as. This file is from 4 years ago, just a few days before the massacre, Sasuke muttered darkly, gripping the folder with enough strength for rips to appear on the sides. He took a calming breath, trying to shove the face of his older brother away and focus on the file in front of him. Ranking. A rank, possible higher rank. Profile. Uzumaki Naruto is arrogant, brash, and has a tendency to play around with his enemies. It has been noted that the stronger his enemy is, the longer will he drag the battle out. This stems from his desire to find someone who might challenge him, and it might be his downfall one day. Shinobi, who worked with Uzumaki Naruto, has described him as jovial and open one moment and the next as a merciless and bloodthirsty butcher. It has been noted that he wears his glasses to lessen the burden on his brain from the superior perception of the 6 eyes, even though he uses chakra to keep it fresh. Should he not cover his eyes for a long period, he would get tired. Naruto's first show of his bloodlines happened when he was 4, and already then, the council and the Hokage knew that the blonde's identity had to be concealed to avoid any potential assassinations. After, our rival great villages had shown that we're ready to kill for less than a bloodline, and the boy had 2 and was a son to 2 well-known, respected, and hated S-rank ninjas, one of whom was the Hokage, and the other was the sole Uzumaki survivor. Even so, the boy rose through the ranks quickly, and soon his name was out in the open. The Hokage ran damage control and restricted the knowledge about him to Jonin and above, but even now, we are unsure if any of the other villages are aware of his full identity. It is not impossible, but the chances are low since the boy has been in Anbu for the past couple of years, and the last year, he mostly did stealth, with reconnaissance and intel gathering missions, staying off the radar. So, why is he in our team as a genin? Hinata asked, not understanding why someone like him was on the team. Hiashi sighed and looked at her for a few moments before deciding to tell her the truth. He has been assigned to your team as a precaution. Both you and the Uchiha are important to the village, and the council decided to push their agenda to make sure nothing happens to you too. I see, it troubled and angered her even that the council had deemed her weak enough to place an Anbu on her team. What is his position in the village? That's difficult to say, for he is not a clan head, for the Uzumaki clan never had a seat on the council. But the higher-ups know his value, very much the same way they do with the 3 Sanins, so I would say he is in the same position as them. While he has no formal influence in the village, most experienced shinobi would follow his orders, while the council values his opinion and often takes them into consideration. A week had passed since their first meeting as Team 7, and in that time the genin team spent their time training under Kakashi, focusing mostly on teamwork, at the insistence of Kakashi. The genin were less than pleased by the development, Hinata and Sasuke wishing for more advanced training, while Naruto was annoyed and refused to take the training seriously. When not training, the team was doing D ranks, at least 2 a day. The silver-haired Jonin said it was to build their teamwork even more, but honestly, he forced them to do this merely to see them suffer the nightmare that were the D ranks, especially Naruto, who despised them. Good job on another D rank, well done again, Hiruzen said with a smile, seeing the members of Team 7 in his office. Both Hinata and Sasuke had scratches and cuts on their bodies, while Naruto was holding a fat orange cat. Can I kill this cat now? Naruto asked with narrowed eyes, looking at the scared feline, while the other 2 members of his team were glaring bloody daggers at it. While he was not hurt by the demon cat, his pride was hurt because Naruto, using everything at his disposal, took 2 hours to catch the cat. Worse of all, at one point, the orange cat ran into the city, where many of Jonins and Anbu saw the blonde struggling to catch it, before bursting out laughing, the ones knowing him more than others. Now, Naruto, you can't kill someone your mission told you to catch, Kakashi berated with a gleeful smile under his mask. Ah, how great it was to see the blonde being put in such a humiliating position after everything he put him through. After their first day as a team, Naruto decided it was high time for the silver-haired Jonin to stop lazying around and forced him to spar and train with him in the evenings. Each day after that ended with bruises and sores for Kakashi, and while he wanted to tell Naruto to leave him alone, for the training was cutting down his icha time, he knew that the blonde wouldn't listen to him and put him through an even more rigorous training regime. It made Jonin wonder if this was payback from the blonde for the hellish training he put him through when Naruto first joined Anbu. By the time Kakashi came back to the conversation in the Hokage office, he heard his team trying to persuade Sandaime to give them a C rank. As if the Hokage would let them take such a mission only after a week of being a team. We need more real experience. It is important to see the outside world when it is still relatively safe for us. I'm the strongest, don't worry about it. Kakashi had a sinking feeling in his gut when he saw the Sandaime sigh. No way, right. Sarutobi wouldn't cave in this easily. That's impossible. These thoughts left his head when he saw the old man reach for the scrolls labeled as C and throw one at him. "No way," the silver-haired Jonin muttered with a shadowed face. "What is it, Kakashi?" Nothing at all. "Everything is perfect," the Jonin muttered, unrolling the scroll and reading the mission details, while the Hokage told the general gist of the mission to the three genin. "Your mission will be to escort Master Bridge Builder Tazuna back to his home and protect him until he finishes building his bridge. Please, let Tazuna in," the old man said to his secretary, and a few moments later, an old man, wearing a sleeveless shirt and a conical hat, entered the office. "This is the shinobi protection I am paying you big buck for. One of them doesn't even look like a ninja." The man raged, his breath stinking of cheap alcohol. "I can assure you, Mr. Tazuna, that this is the best protection available in the village. I hope you are right. There is nothing to worry about. My name is Hada Kakashi, the Jonin of Team 7. I can say with full confidence that bandits and missing nin will not be a problem," Kakashi said with an eye smile, noticing how tense the old man got when he mentioned the latter, together with the information given to him in the mission scroll. It made Kakashi wary of what opposition they might encounter. "Alright team, go home and prepare for the mission. We will meet tomorrow at 8 in the morning at the main gate, don't be late." The next day, after they set out of Konoha and headed for Wave Country, Tazuna's home, they got ambushed by two Chunin-level missing nins. After making a quick work of them and interrogating the bridge builder as to why they were after his head, they got the full story. Apparently, a tyrant businessman took over the country, gaining a monopoly on their fishing and export business, before draining the country dry. Since then, Tazuna tried to build a bridge to connect the island to the Fire Country mainland to free his people from Gato's hold. It took Team 7 but a few moments to decide to continue their mission, all of them having their own reasons. For the Uchiha, it was because the mission would prove to him how strong he really was and show him he was making progress toward reaching Itachi. Hinata, on the other hand, couldn't care less about the peoples of Wave plight, but the Hyuga clan's name was on the line. She knew that if the word that she, the Hyuga clan heiress, abandoned such a mission, it would greatly impact the clan's prestige and would be a stain on their honor. And Naruto? He thought liberating a country was a perfect opportunity to get his name in the open. After all, he wasn't sure how famous he was in the world with all the redacting Hiruzen did a few years ago, but it was time to change it. It was time for the whole world to know the name Uzumaki Naruto and hear about his strength. The blonde chirped cheerfully with a grin on his face. They were currently walking through a forest in the Wave Country, a heavy mist all around them, making it hard to see a thing. "Can you stop?" Hinata hissed, giving him a heated glare. They were in enemy territory, with unknown terrain and bad weather, and the blonde was acting like he was on a walk in Konoha. Naruto sighed and sent the Jonin a pointed look, making Kakashi raise an eyebrow. This time, the blonde did it more forcefully, staring at the silver-haired Jonin. At first, Kakashi wasn't sure what Naruto wanted from him before old memories of Anbu kicked in and his eyes widened. Humming means we are being followed. It took Kakashi this long to think about this because Naruto wasn't a sensor, and the fog made it impossible to see far. But then it hit him, for the blonde, the mist was not an inconvenience, his 6 eyes allowed him to see just as well as usual, even in those conditions. Just then, a quiet whistling registered in Jonin's head, on pure reflexes gained through years of fighting and training, he jumped to the ground, pulling Tazuna with himself. Down. Hinata and Sasuke quickly followed his orders and ducked, just in time as a large sword zipped past their heads. Naruto raised an eyebrow when the sword came barreling into him, before reaching out and catching it by the handle. To the blonde's surprise, the strength behind the throw pushed him slightly back, something that happened rarely. Naruto smirked and turned towards the lake in front of them, on which stood a shirtless man. As the mist started to disperse and the other members of Team 7 stood up, Naruto saw the shock of their attacker at the sight of Naruto, casually holding the sword in one hand. "Nice sword," the blonde genin complimented at the stumped assassin. "Momchi Zabuza, a ranked missing nin from Kiri," the silver-haired Jonin said, recognizing their attacker from his characteristic lack of shirt, short, black hair, and bandaged face. Getting over his shock, Zabuza tried to play it off cool, crossing his hands and staring at them with a cold look. "Kakashi of the Sharingan, 2 brats, and..." He left the question open, making the blonde happily introduce himself, while his teammates bristled in anger at being so easily dismissed. "Uzumaki Naruto," the blonde said with a wave, making the missing nin narrow his eyes, before turning to the Jonin. "We are both busy people, Kakashi, so let's not get in one other way. Hand over the old man and I will let you and your team leave." Kakashi sighed and shrugged. "Sorry, can't abandon our client." "A shame, then I guess I can't let you leave here alive," Zabuza said, killing intent rising, before turning to the blonde. "Mind giving me my sword back?" Naruto shrugged, throwing the sword to the missing nin, making his sensei groan in annoyance, while his teammates and client cried out in outrage. Didn't expect that. Oh, well, your funeral. Alright Kakashi, time to see if you got any better. Chop chop, off you go, Naruto stated, making the Jonin sweat drop before he turned serious and lifted his headband, revealing a Sharingan. Oh, the famous Sharingan right off the bat. You honor me. Soon, a short fight between the two Jonin ensued. At first, it looked like Kakashi had the upper hand, at least until he got knocked onto the river, where Zabuza trapped him in a water prison. Now, onto the brats, Zabuza said, creating 3 water clones, which stalked toward the genin. Naruto rubbed his chin in thought, not noticing the resolute looks on Hinata's and Sasuke's faces or the scared expression on Tazuna. Well, not bad. Considering you were against Zabuza, one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist, I would say it was not bad at all. I thought, a few years ago you would have won. It seems we need to up your training, Kakashi, the blonde said with a grin, making the silver-haired Jonin groan in the water prison. Ha! You talk like you are leaving this place alive. Zabuza laughed, and the 3 water clones lunged forward before the 3 of them burst, leaving only puddles on the grass. Wow. Alright, now for the rescue, Naruto said, and looked Zabuza in the eyes. Clench your teeth. Before the missing nin could respond, the blonde made a single hand seal, clenching his hands together, and instantly appeared in front of him. A powerful uppercut sent Zabuza flying before he skipped 2 times on the water. Kakashi landed on the water and thanked the blonde before getting waved off. Don't worry about it. Now, off you go, I wanna play a little, the mission has been boring so far. A moment later, Kakashi appeared in front of the remaining 2 genin, and Zabuza rushed at the blonde, his cleaver ready to cut him in 2. Just as the sword was about to cut him, Naruto stopped the sword with his infinity, before lifting his hand. Wait a sec, he turned to the silver-haired Jonin and shouted. Oi. Write down the fight for future references, would you? No one except Kakashi knew what Naruto meant and was even more confused when Jonin took out a notebook and started writing. What? Hinata asked, completely at a loss what was happening. Naruto likes to write down his fight so that Jiraiya-sama has good reference material for fight scenes in his books. Back at the lake, Naruto turned back to Zabuza, who tried to understand why his sword stopped suddenly. Okay, ready to continue. Arrogant of you to turn your back to me, Zabuza hissed through gritted teeth, making the blonde chuckle. Don't worry about it. After all, you're weak. Angered by the comment, the missing nin pulled his sword back and slashed once again, putting all his strength into the attack, intent on cutting the breast in 2. Before his sword reached the blonde, Naruto let out 3 fast punches to his chest, followed by a front kick that would have sent him flying if he hadn't caught Zabuza by the wrist. He squeezed hard, making his grunt and forcing his hand open, the giant sword falling into the lake. As Bua tried to counter, a fast puck flying towards the blonde effortlessly blocked before the blonde pulled him in, landing a devastating uppercut to his gut, lifting him up and this time sending him flying with a roundhouse kick. Had enough? Naruto asked when Zabuza went back to his knees, spitting away blood and glaring daggers at him. Enough. The missing nin growled before rushing through hand seals, seeing that the blonde was just observing him with this goddamn smug smirk. Suiton. Water Dragon Jutsu. Zabuza shouted before a massive serpentine dragon rose from the lake, its ominous yellow eyes glaring daggers at the blonde. Ghoul Jutsu, let me show you mine. The Divergence of Infinity. My reverse chakra technique, Naruto pointed his right index finger at the dragon that was ready to pounce on him any moment and a small but very bright red orb appeared above his finger. The glow from the technique illuminated the whole clearing, giving it a red hue. Uzumaki Hijutsu. Red. As he said those words, the dragon rushed at him, intent on crushing him whole. Naruto's jutsu glowed even brighter, looking like it was about to explode with unbelievable power, before suddenly dying out. What? Izuna asked stunned, followed by the blonde's teammates and sensei. I failed. Naruto shouted with a stupid grin, the same instant the dragon barreled into him, creating a great explosion of water. Waves crashed mercilessly on the lake, while small droplets fell from the sky onto the clearing. Heh, too easy, Zabuza stated, standing up, only to hear a pop next to him, before a crushing punch sent him barreling through a couple of trees. Where once stood Zabuza, the spectators of the fight could see Naruto, unharmed with a pout. Amazing, he took him out in one punch, Tazuna muttered, looking at the broken body of Zabuza a few meters away from them. He noticed the missing nin was trying to stand up, but he kept failing, his body devoid of power, unable to lift his weight. Naruto walked over to him, a bored expression on his face, making the demon of the mist even more angry. And now to end it, before he could move for the kill, a pair of senbon cut into the missing nin's neck. Zabuza's eyes widened before he stopped to move, his body falling limp onto the soft grass. Naruto looked to his left, where on a tree branch stood Kiri Anbu, looking right back at him. Naruto, what happened? Kakashi asked, noticing Zabuza's dead body, before seeing the Anbu. I see. Thank you for weakening Zabuza for me. I have been following him for the past few weeks, but wouldn't be able to take him down without your help. In a single leap, the Anbu landed next to Zabuza, their hand reached the body, before Naruto caught their wrist. The Anbu jumped, turning to the blonde. Keeping his eyes on the Kiri ninja, Naruto placed 2 fingers at Zabuza's neck and feeling no pulse, he pulled back and grinned. No problem, Anbu-chan, the blonde said with a wink, startling the Kiri nin, who nodded uncertainly before picking up the body and vanishing without another word. Glad that's over, Tazuna said, releasing a sigh of relief. What do you mean? It's just staring, the blonde ninja answered with a grin. What? Sasuke looked at his teammate with a skeptical look. Well, the Anbu was working for Zabuza, that's obvious. How can you be so sure? This time, it was the unconvinced Hinata who asked. If she was a real Kiri Anbu, she would have cut off his head and burned the body. Then why did you let her leave? A horrified Tazuna shouted, a look of despair on his face. Kakashi sighed at the grinning face of the blonde and hid his Sharingan. That's obvious, next time they are fighting. After all, they need to pull their weight, Naruto stated, pointing at his teammates and shocking them. Besides, it's more fun this way. Don't worry, as long as I am around, nothing will happen to you, I am the strongest, his team supplied as one in a dry voice, causing the blonde to laugh and grin. Ding, ding, ding. Correct. Alright, if that's settled, let's keep going. How far is your house, Mr. Tazuna? Kakashi asked, pulling out his icha. He was convinced the danger had passed for now, so it was alright to relax. About 15 minutes of walk, then let's go. As they walked towards the bridge builder's house and village, Hinata looked at the blonde with a curious expression. How did you know the Anbu was a girl? The heiress asked, for she was unable to tell their gender. The clothes the Anbu wore weren't revealing a lot, making it difficult to make a deduced guess even for her. Ah, that's easy. It's thanks to my 3rd bloodline limit. What? Sasuke asked with wide eyes, making Kakashi smirk under his mask. Yup, I can tell whenever a cute girl is around without a fail, the blonde explained with a massive grin. The last Uchiha looked at him with a deadpan, while Tazuna's eyes were filled with awe. Hinata, on the other hand, seemed to believe the blonde and huffed. That could have been me, she said with a proud voice. Haha. Good one. The blonde burst out laughing, only to get a juke into his shoulder from the furious female. And what do you mean by that? Later that same night, deep into the forest of the Wave Country, in a small underground base, Zabuza opened his eyes, hissing in pain as the 2 senbon were pulled out of his neck. You could be more gentle, Haku, he muttered, his voice weak. The Anbu, now without a mask, gave him a beautiful smile. Don't be a baby, Zabuza-sama. HMPH, that's cold, silence ensued, his female companion treating his wounds while he thought about the battle at the lake. What do you think about him? The blonde? A grunt was her answer. She thought for a moment before sighing. He is very strong, maybe stronger than you. Ah, that's an understatement, the demon of the mist answered, shocking his apprentice at the casual admittance of being weaker than a child her age. Zabuza-sama? She asked, a worried expression on her face. Don't act like you didn't see the fight. I got thrashed, there is no other way to say it. It is a fact that Uzumaki boy is stronger than me. It's the same as admitting that Yugura is beyond my scope. Are we canceling the mission? No, we need the money, and while I hate working for Gato, he pays well. Then do you have a plan to defeat him? I think I have an idea, but it will require some preparations. In the meantime, I have to get back into shape, let's not forget there is still Kakashi to deal with and the 2 other genin. Please, they are harmless, it's the blonde and Kakashi that is our only real trouble. And then I sent him flying with a single punch. They were in Tazuna's house, sitting at a table and eating a dinner made by Tazuna's daughter, Tsunami. Meanwhile, the blonde was retelling the bridge builder's daughter about the battle with Zabuza, making her stare at him in wonder. You must be really strong, Naruto. Of course, there is no one stronger than me, the blonde grinned. Lies, Gato is stronger. Naruto looked to the left, where he saw a kid looking at him with a glare. Huh? The blonde genin asked with an annoyed look. You can't beat Gato. He is too strong. Maybe for a brat like you, the kid, Inari, growled at the nonchalant tone the ninja was speaking with before slamming his hands on the desk. What do you know, huh? You know nothing of our pain, and now you come here acting all cool and strong, but you will end like all before you. Dead at Gato's feet. A silence followed, all eyes darting from the blonde to the Tsunami-san. After a few moments, the blonde leaned back in his chair and looked at Inari with a serious expression, slightly pulling down his sunglasses to make eye-to-eye contact with him. And what do you say about a bet? A bet? Inari asked, staring at the sudden change in the blonde's voice. Wherein before it was cheerful and warm, now it was completely serious. Yeah, I bet you that by tomorrow morning I will clear out all of Gato's thugs from the village and keep them away until Tazuna finishes his bridge. If I win, you will acknowledge that you were just too weak to defend your home yourself. And if I win? The boy asked uncertainly, not wanting to admit to being weak to the blonde. If you win. Well, I will be probably dead. What do you say? Naruto Kakashi muttered, getting a glare from the blonde before he turned to Inari. The boy nodded, his childish stubbornness forcing him to win it or fear admitting he was wrong. Okay, I accept, bud. I am leaving, we'll be back later, Naruto stated, standing up and walking out of the house before being quickly followed by his sensei. Outside, Kakashi saw the blonde leaning on the railing on the porch. Why did you propose him the bet? Why? Ah, you know how I am, I see a lot of my younger self in him. I can see in his eyes, no matter what he is saying, that he wishes for someone to save his home, but is too stubborn to admit it. Winning it and forcing him to admit I was right is the only way he will get his confidence back. I don't follow, where do you yourself in this? Kakashi asked, making the blonde sigh. Just like me, he is too stubborn to ask for help. I was the same when I was younger, but when he wanted someone to save him, I wanted to have friends and family. You remember my attitude back then, right? Trying to push others away, even when I longed for companionship. It's similar, in a way. I see. What do you plan then? We'll probably weed out all of the bandits in the village tonight and then keep watch with shadow clones, make sure Gato doesn't send in more. Understood. We will prepare for Zabuza's return, make sure you are ready to come back at moment's notice. Yes, make sure nothing happens to Tazuna. I have no intentions of breaking my perfect mission track with a failed C-ranked mission. Without another word, the blonde walked away into the forest, heading for the town. Kakashi watched him go with a frown before walking back into the house, already thinking of a training regime for his other two genin. Haku yawned, bending down to pick herbs for Zabuza's treatment in the forest. It was early in the morning when she decided to depart, leaving their hideout once her master woke up to not leave him in a vulnerable position. It was a beautiful day, she noted. The warm rays of the morning sun made the forest look wonderful, the soft blowing of wind was not too cold or too warm. The delightful chirping of a bird, high in the trees, and the light snoring of someone, really made it an enchanting moment. She closed her eyes, enjoying the tranquil moments, her sleepy mind ready to fall asleep on the soft grass underfoot. Wait, snoring. Her eyes shot open, muscles tensing. All drowsiness quickly left her body when she saw the blonde Konoha genin from yesterday sleeping peacefully under a tree. Haku swallowed, quickly fishing out a single senbon from her wooden basket before she hid it back. The blonde didn't seem to have sensed her in any way, and throwing a weapon could potentially wake him up. She bit her lip before slowly stalking towards him, her feet practically gliding on the grass, not making a single sound, just like she practiced for years. A single slender arm reached for Naruto's throat, and just as she was to grab it, she released a soundless sigh and shook his shoulder. What am I doing? He is the one who put Zabuza-sama in such a condition, I should kill him now and save us trouble later. Even while she berated herself, deep down she knew she wasn't heartless enough to kill someone, especially in their sleep. Huh? A drowsy voice muttered before the blonde yawned loudly and sat up, wiping his eyes. Naruto looked up, curious as to who woke him, and his eyes widened at the beauty in front of him. Long, silky black hair, framing a most beautiful face with kind, brown eyes filled his vision. Pale, unblemished skin, soft lips, and a warm smile, with an amused twinkle in her eyes. She wore a sleeveless pink kimono with a black choker around her neck and wooden sandals. Am I in heaven? The blonde asked with a small smile. Haku blushed and pulled back. No, still in Wave Country. Why were you sleeping out here? Zabuza's apprentice quickly changed the topic, watching as the blonde stood up and stretched his back. Decided to spend some time in the nature, Naruto answered with a grin, before looking at her basket. What are you collecting? Herbs for my friend, he fell ill. Needs some help. I would appreciate it. The two spent some time collecting herbs and making some small talk along the way. They didn't talk about anything in particular, merely about some of their hobbies, interests, and homes. So, how is Zabuza? Naruto asked, putting another few plants in the basket. Could be worse, Haku hummed before her eyes widened and she jumped back, pulling out a senbon from the basket. She cursed silently under her breath, readying herself to flee at any moment, but to her surprise, the blonde stayed in his position, looking at her quizzically. What's gotten into you? You know I work for Zabuza-sama, and? I knew it from the moment I woke up. Why? Why what? Why didn't you attack me? Ah, that's why. It's too early in the morning to be fighting. Besides, what kind of monster would I be if I attacked you and decided not to attack me first? A short silence followed before Naruto waved her on. Come on, you said you need a bit more. Haku hesitated for a moment before relenting and crouching down next to the blonde, who was collecting the herbs. In her mind, she knew she stood no chance against the blonde, so there was no need for him to be deceitful, and she doubted that someone as confident as him would even resort to such measures. Why? She asked again, making the blonde sigh and look at her from the corner of his eye. Do I need a reason to help a cute girl pick flowers? He resorted to a smirk at seeing Haku blush again before turning away. They continued in a tense silence, at least for the girl. Naruto seemed to be as relaxed as ever. Before long they had enough and Haku decided it was time she headed back. Thank you for your help. I guess next time we will see each other we will be enemies. Well, if you want to meet before that, to speak or something, I would be glad to see you again. Why are you acting like this? You know as well that in a few days we will be trying to kill each other. So? Is it wrong for us to enjoy the few peaceful days before that? Naruto asked with a smile, shocking the black-haired girl before a small smile blossomed on her face, and she nodded. You may be right, I would like to meet you again before we fight. Great, Naruto grinned, turning towards the village. What do you say we meet again after tomorrow? Here? Yup, morning. Yes, that would be nice. Alright, see ya, the blonde waved before walking away, leaving a smiling Haku alone in the peaceful forest. Farewell, she muttered before heading back to her master. Naruto smiled, looking at the bustling main square of the village. It has been a week since he took care of all of Gato's mercenaries. In time, the people of Waves started living in peace once again, and after telling them they didn't have to pay any taxes for Gato, assuring them that he would protect them, they were able to enjoy their lives again. Gato tried to reclaim his territory a few times, sending more and more mercenaries, but after none of them came back, the man stopped. Naruto wondered if the man was readying an all-out attack or if he was waiting for Zabuza to finish the job, but whichever it was, the people of Wave could breathe a sigh of relief for now. Azuna said his bridge would be ready in another week, so until then his team had to deal with the matter of Zabuza and Gato before Wave was truly free. In the last week, he met 4 times with Haku. They spent their time together talking about their lives, their thought on the shinobi world, and retelling stories of their past. Naruto really enjoyed her company, no matter how fleeting it might be, but that was something he came to treasure in this world, the few moments of peace and happiness before everything turned to chaos. Well, that's how this world works, the blonde thought before he heard a loud whistle coming from the bridge, loud enough that he heard from all the way here. I guess it's starting, no point in wasting time. Naruto stood up from the roof he was sitting on, creating a single shadow clone in case something happened here, and with a single hand seal, vanished. Kakashi whistled, using chakra to enhance the loudness of it to make sure the blonde heard it. Team 7 and Tazuna arrived at the bridge a few minutes ago, seeing all the construction workers who helped the bridge builder lying unconscious on the ground before a thick mist entered the area. Get ready, Kakashi ordered, his Sharingan already out, trying to pierce the chakra-filled mist. Hinata turned on her Byakugan, and Sasuke took out a pair of kunai. Where is the blonde brat? Zabuza's rough voice echoed through the mist before it dispersed slightly, showing him and the fake Anbu standing some distance away. Here, Naruto's voice rang loud, confusing all of them when they didn't see him. Up here, they all lifted their gazes, and to their shock and amazement the blonde was levitating in the air, hand in his pockets, and his usual smirk plastered on his face. HMPH, good, it would have been a waste to bring our guest here if you ran away, Zabuza said with a savage grin under his bandages, making the blonde raise an eyebrow. What? A chilling laughter and massive killing intent filled the area. Hinata and Sasuke froze, Tazuna fainted, and Kakashi had to steel himself not to fall prey to it. Who is this? Kakashi thought in shock as a third figure started to emerge from the mist, on the side of Zabuza. That's the brat that kicked your ass. The man, or was it a shark, laughed loudly before a massive bandaged sword hit the bridge. Hey? You've brought a fish to a fight? Naruto asked, making the shark man grin, his bloodlust filling the area. I am Hoshigaki Kisame, brat. Oh? An S-rank missing nin from Kiri. Heh, not bad, name's Uzumaki Naruto. The blonde turned to Kakashi, and seeing the state of his team, he knew they would be handicapped fighting in the same place Kisame was. Oi, Kakashi, leave him to me, you take care of Zabuza and the cute Anbu. Alright, watch out. Kakashi didn't want Naruto to fight Kisame alone, but he knew that the blonde was the only one who would be able to fight him. Even as it pained him, the silver-haired Jonin had to admit that he would only get in the way of their fight. Don't worry, I will be back shortly, Naruto smirked, appearing in front of the S-ranked missing nin, before placing a hand on the shark man's shoulder, and both vanished. No matter how strong the brat might be, he had no chance against Kisame. You should focus on your own fight, Zabuza. Hinata, Sasuke, take care of the fake Anbu. They appeared in the forest where he met Haku for the first time, and before Kisame could gather his thoughts on what happened, Naruto sent him flying with a kick, 3 trees broken. Not bad, brat. I see how you could have beaten Zabuza, but this will not be enough against me. Hopefully. I heard you were strong, so don't disappoint me. Kisame rushed in, swinging his sword horizontally. Naruto ducked, launching a punch to Kisame's chest, which was blocked before the blonde shot out a kick to the missing nin's head that was dodged. Kisame countered with a haymaker on his own, followed by 2 jabs and a powerful frontal kick, all of which were blocked before the blonde caught his leg and threw him in the air. Naruto jumped behind the man, trying to grab his black cloak and throw him to the ground, but Kisame slapped the arm away and spun in the air, delivering a powerful falling kick to the blonde. Naruto smirked when the kick stopped, before grabbing his opponent's leg and throwing him back first into the ground. The shark-looking man hit the ground hard, a small hole appearing under him, and dust flew in all directions, but unlike many, that didn't stop him. He quickly jumped up to his legs and cut with his sword high, trying to catch the blonde in the air. Naruto smirked and didn't block, instead spun in the air, launching a powerful kick at the missing nin, knowing his infinity would stop the attack. Naruto grunted and flew away, his chest bloodied and shredded. He crashed into a tree and slowly raised back, glaring at the missing nin. "How?" he asked, seeing that the wound was not too deep, but was bleeding quickly. Kisame cackled madly and the bandages around his sword fell down, revealing a scaly-looking weapon. "When I heard your name from Zabuza, I knew the mission would be easy. After all, this sword, my Samehada, was the perfect tool for killing Uzumaki, giving its previous name the Whirlpool Killer." The missing nin laughed loudly, before preparing to continue the fight. "Samehada? Damn it, that's bad." He knew of the properties of the sword, after all, it was one of the few weapons that could counter his infinity. "Lucky hit." Naruto stood up and pointed his right hand at Kisame. "Uzumaki Hijutsu." Blue. Instantly, the earth around the missing nin shot towards Kisame, trying to crush him. Kisame smirked and swung his sword, blasting the earth away before dashing to the left. "VCH, he's fast." Naruto notices and jumps to the left when Samehada crashes into the ground before his hand shoots out, sending Kisame flying. He pointed his hand again, and his chakra flared. Blue. Kisame stopped midair before he shot towards the blonde. He enhanced his fist with Limitless and punched him in the chest, drilling him into the ground. GCK. Kisame grunted, blood flying from his mouth, feeling several of his ribs breaking, before the blonde lifted him up and delivered a crushing combo to him. 2 jabs, a haymaker, an uppercut, another 3 jabs finished with a spinning kick. Kisame flew away, his body hitting the ground, Naruto hot on his heels, ready to finish the missing nin off. "You fell for it." Kisame laughed and slashed at the blonde. Blood gushed out as his whole chest got ripped to ribbons. The blonde tried to jump back in panic, only to be blindsided by the devastating punches from the fishman. His head pounded, his chest burned like never before, and the pain was unbearable, clouding his mind. "Haha." Kisame laughed maniacally, slashing the blonde's right thigh open before with a single hand seal, he spat a large water bullet. The blonde was sent flying, blood painting the grass red, his back hit a tree, before Kisame appeared in front of him, his sword ready to carve even more of his flesh. Through the haze in his mind, Naruto lifted his hand and shot a blue, trying to push the missing nin back, but Kisame had no problem dodging the attack before his sword met the flesh on Naruto's neck. Naruto was sent flying, his body limp, before Kisame appeared next to him and elbowed him into the ground. The missing nin spun, a kunai twirled in his hand before stabbing the blonde's leg repetitively, before piercing his chest, and to end it all, the regular kunai cut into his forehead. The blonde fell to the ground, a pool of blood under his body, and Kisame smirked. Ah, another shinobi added to his kill count. How he loved the feeling. Especially, when they were special and this one counted among them. In the end, you were nothing more than another arrogant brat. Kisame turned and started a leisurely walk towards the bridge, not like he was contracted to do anything else. Ah, Pain-sama will be pleased at the amount of money he will bring back. He would need to contact his leader and Gato for future contracts. The slimy man knew how to pay for professionals. Back at the bridge, the battle between Zabuza and Team 7 was still going fiercely. It had been around 30 minutes since Naruto departed to fight Kisame, and the silver-haired Jonin was still tied in his fight. Zabuza decided to stretch the fight as long as possible, not wanting to make a single mistake. His plan was to tire Kakashi out before going in for the kill, to make absolutely certain that the copy ninja wouldn't pull out any surprises. His tactic, to Kakashi's dismay, was proving to be successful so far, as the Konoha Jonin was starting to lose ground. He looked to his right, where inside a dome of ice mirrors his 2 genin were pushed on the defense. Thanks to Hinata's Byakugan and Sasuke's newly awakened Sharingan, these 2 were able to hold their ground so far, but it was a matter of time before the fake Anbu would tire them out and come out on top. "Where are you, Naruto?" Kakashi thought and was forced to dodge, or else get cut in half by the massive Kubikirabacho. Just then, almost like his prayers had been answered, another presence appeared on the bridge. "Finally, took you long enough," the silver-haired Jonin thought with a smirk, only to get a sinking feeling in his gut when the mist started to clear out. There stood a man, but it was not the blonde from his team, but Kisame, grinning and bloodied, but not as much as his sword. Just then, Sasuke and Hinata found an opening and were able to escape the mirrors, thanks to the Uchiha's great usage of Kaitenjutsu to cause a distraction for the fake Anbu. Team 7 regrouped near Tazuna, who by now was kneeling on the bridge behind a set of metal bars. Kakashi looked around and asked how his genin was holding out. I can still go on, Hinata answered, but the Jonin saw that her chakra reservoir was slowly diminishing, among many cuts on her body. Same, Sasuke's ragged voice claimed. The raven-haired boy had even less chakra left than his Hyuga teammate, but his body was less injured. Why are you here? Kakashi asked, his eyes on Zabuza and Kisame, who seemed to talk about something, but he was too far away to hear what. He noticed the fake Anbu also regrouped with Zabuza and was standing near her master. Why? Ah, I see. Because I killed Uzumaki Naruto, Kisame said with a grin, shocking Team 7 and Zabuza. No way, Hinata breathed out. While she found the blonde annoying, he was still her teammate and she didn't want him to die. Furthermore, he was their strongest member and that spelled huge trouble. Sasuke clenched his fists, trying to calm his anger and fear down, but even so, couldn't stop them from slightly shaking. While no one noticed it, the Anbu's shoulders tensed for a single moment. Shit. Naruto is dead. No, focus, we need to get out of here now. He turned to his team and rushed through hand seals. Hinata, Sasuke, Plan D. A huge amount of smoke filled the bridge before dozens of Team 7 and Tazuna's ran away in different directions. Zabuza cursed, running towards a group and cutting them down, only for them to dissipate in a haze. Bunch and escape. Kisame laughed, it was a genin tactic, but when your opponents had almost zero chakra left, like now, even censors would have a problem finding the right ones. Zabuza grunted in annoyance before turning to Haku. Come on, we need to finish them while they are tired, the missing nin commanded, getting a stiff nod from his apprentice, wondering what it was all about, before shrugging it off as hesitant to kill. You're coming. He turned to Kisame, who shook his head. My contract specifies the blonde brat, and since he is dead I am going for the paycheck. Team 7 ran as fast as their tired bodies would allow. Plan D was a total retreat to their latest resting place, in this case, Tazuna's house. While it endangered the bridge builder's family, it was probably the only place they could be certain no enemy would be waiting for them. Besides, the house was a good distance away from the village, Zabuza's most likely place of searching for them first. What do we do now, sensei? Hinata asked as they landed in front of the house and quickly went in. Kakashi nervously scratched his head, trying to think of a way out of this predicament, before taking a deep breath and calming down. First, let's not assume Naruto is dead, it could very well be a lie to make us nervous. He saw his students' uncertain expressions, but ignored them and summoned Pakin, his ninja dog. Yo, Kakashi, the small brown pug greeted with a wave, before seeing the serious look on his summoner's face. What do you need me to do? Find Naruto, you remember his smell. Of course, be careful, an S-rank missing nin and A-rank missing nin are around, you need to be discreet. Understood, the pug saluted before jumping out of the window at a speed that baffled the two genin. What was that? Tazuna asked, shocked to see a talking dog. One of my summons, he will try to find Naruto, meanwhile take these, Kakashi gave each genin a small brown pill. These will replenish your chakra, Tazuna, we need bandages. Of course, rest for now, I will stand guard. Sometime later, Kisame was sitting and leaving Gato's mansion, annoyed that the slimy businessman was absent with all his henchmen. He could try to break in, but that caused problems for future contracts, so the missing nin decided to meet up with Zabuza in the meantime, while waiting for his contractor to come back from wherever he was. As he walked down the cobbled road from the mansion, he lifted his hand, trying to shadow his eyes from the bright sun. He came to a stop, a confused expression on his face when he saw someone waiting in front of him. Hey, it's been a while, Naruto said with a smile, his right eye covered by his messy hair, his glasses nowhere to be found. Kisame looked at the blonde with disbelief, not sure if he was seeing things. For real? For real, the blonde lifted the hair from his forehead, showing the place that was pierced by a kunai. Kisame saw a small cave in the place, but there was no wound to be found anymore. I am alive and kicking, Naruto said, his voice filled with excitement. Reverse chakra technique. Bingo. I knew you would know about it, the blonde confirmed, tapping his forehead with his thumb. When you ripped my throat wide open I gave up on counterattacking and poured all my focus into the reverse chakra technique. Chakra is created when you mix two different energies into one. While it can enhance the body and speed up the healing process, there are limits to how much it can do. So you divide that chakra into its base energies and force them to work separately at the same time, creating negative chakra in your body. That's the reverse chakra technique, Naruto explained, a mad grin on his face. Easier said than done. I hadn't been able to do so up until now myself. And I couldn't understand anything the scrolls about it said. He's babbling on and on, Kisame thought, his eyes narrowed on the blonde. He's high. The missing nin looked at the blonde Uzumaki, who was grinning madly at the sky, his arms spread out at his side, while his blue eyes sparkled with insanity. But I finally grasped it on the verge of death. The true essence of chakra. The reason you are going to lose is because you didn't chop my head off, and because you didn't use that sword of yours when you stabbed my head. That sword can't stab, Kisame thought with a small smile before taking it off his back. I am going to lose. Our fight is just getting started. What? Is that right? Maybe you're right. You're so right. Kisum rushed in and slashed down, and Naruto sidestepped the attack effortlessly. The missing nin reversed a grip on the sword and slashed back, sending gusts of wind behind the attack, only to hit the air. He looked over his shoulder with a surprised look, seeing the blonde levitating upside down, 2 fingers lifted up and a small red orb shining bright at their tips. The whole place was lit up in crimson light as Naruto smiled thinly. Uzumaki Hijutsu. Red, these words felt so right in his mouth, filling him with ecstasy. Kisum tried to block the attack with Samehada, hoping to disperse the technique as the red hit his sword. It soon was clear that Samehada was too slow at eating the chakra, and Kasama was sent flying at Gato's mansion. The shark man grinned from his down position, holding his aching stomach while a cut on his forehead opened, blood flowing down his face. He watched the blonde with the excitement of a worthy opponent. Naruto was levitating, his hands spread out, his back facing the earth, a blissful smile on his face. Monster, Kisum muttered and raised his legs, before stretching his back. No bones are broken, the previous damage dealt long ago by Samehada. So, that was the Uzumaki's red, huh? He poured the limitless technique with negative chakra created by the reverse chakra technique. 1. The power to stop. The neutral application of limitless, infinity. 2. The power to attract. The amplified application of the limitless technique, blue. And 3. The power to repel. The reversal of bloodline limit, red. All things I can handle, Kisum thought with a smirk, just as Samehada merged with him, granting him its ability to suck out chakra. Something's off, Kisum thought, watching the blonde levitate as he finished the merging process. Naruto suddenly looked like him, looking almost like he forgot Kisum was around. Their eyes met and the missing nin's smirk vanished. Something's off. No, this is fine, his smirk returned and the manbist prepared to attack. I will kill you, Kisum vanished, appearing in front of the blonde, his hand in a cutting motion, long nails, sharper than most swords went for a cut. Naruto moved his head to the side and the missing nin fell to the ground. He jumped back and his leg, with the power to crush chakra reinforced bones without a problem, lashed out. Naruto tilted back, the attack missing his face by inches, an unbothered look on his face. The sun shined brighter and Naruto lay back in the air again, staring at the sky. Sorry, Kakashi, Hinata, Sasuke, Tazuna. I know I should finish this quickly and go help you, but I can't even bother to care about any of you right now. It's just that the world feels so wonderful right now, the blonde thought with an absolutely emotionless face. He finally felt complete, he felt one with the world. Naruto straightened up, his right hand lifted towards the sky, while his left was pointed towards the earth, right at Kisum, who was trying to find an angle to attack him. Proud heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one, the blonde stated with a grin, seeing Kisum rush through a lot of hand seals. The merit of having a technique that's passed down for generations is having a user manual, the blonde thought, his hand in his pockets as he watched with uninterested gaze as dozens of water sharks rushed towards him, all stopped by his infinity. The demerit is that information about the technique is easily leaked. You were a member of the 7 Mist Swordsmen, all trained to fight against the Uzumaki, Kiri's biggest rival. That's why you were certain your sword could pierce my infinity. However, even in the Uzumaki clan, he put his right fingers in a completely new sign, making a loop with his thumb and index finger. Only a scant few knew about this. He pointed his right hand in Kisum's direction. Take the amplified and the reversal, then smash together those 2 different expressions of infinity to create and push out imaginary mass in the space where his index finger and thumb met. A small purple orb appeared, bathing the area in a dark purple color. Kisum was a few meters away from him, jumping towards the blonde with the intent to finish him off. Uzumaki Hijutsu. Hollow purple. There was a purple flash, the sound of a building collapsing, and the ground being shredded asunder. Naruto looked at the damage with a small smile before the cloud of dust cleared and he came down to the ground, next to an injured Kisum. I knew something was wrong, I had this feeling years ago when I first joined the Kiri ranks. Back then, I was defeated too, by an Uzumaki. It all comes around, I had lost to an Uzumaki the first time I ventured out of the village, and my last mission ended with an Uzumaki standing above my corpse. Naruto looked dispassionately at what remained of Kisum. The sharkman had a huge hole in his chest and abdomen, and was missing his right hand. The sword, still merged with him, died the same moment he did, confirmed by the glassy look in the missing nin's eyes. Kakashi huffed and dodged another attempt on his life by Zabuza, throwing the last of his kunai at the missing nin. Sometime after they arrived at Tazuna's house, the demon of the mist, together with his fake Anbu, found them and attacked them without any remorse. Luckily, Team 7 had a few minutes of rest, where they could replenish their chakra some and loosen their muscles. Another fortunate fact was that Kisum was nowhere to be seen, keeping the fight a 3-on-2. But even so, the small injuries and exhaustion from the bridge and carried over to this fight, giving Zabuza the edge. What's wrong, Kakashi? Can't defeat me without the blonde brat. The silver-haired Jonin clenched his teeth, unable to pinpoint where the voice came from before substituting with a log that was cut in two in moments. There was a strategy Kakashi could use, but it would leave him even more injured, to the point where should Kisame come to finish them, he wouldn't last even a moment. Sasuke. The Jonin looked to his left, hearing Hinata's distressed shout, only to see the Uchiha fall to the ground, 2 senbon in his neck. You bastard. In the heat of the battle, Hinata's emotionless mask slipped and she glared at the fake Anbu before running in. You're getting sloppy, Kakashi. Zabuza appeared in front of the silver-haired Jonin, his sword once again ready to cut his opponent in half. Kakashi jumped back out of reflex, saving his life. Damn it. He clenched his stomach, where the sword cut through his Jonin vest, drawing blood. It's not too deep, well, I guess, it's time to finish this. Kakashi threw a smoke bomb, cowering the area in thick smoke, thicker than the mist surrounding them, before rushing through hand seals and hitting the ground. Summoning jutsu. Hinata rushed in, her previous defensive fighting style forgotten. She enhanced her body with chakra, trying to muster all the speed she could, in hopes of getting a hit against the black-haired Anbu. However, no matter how fast she went, her opponent was just too damn fast. Aku weaved in and out of the Hyuga Eris's attacks, trying to find a safe angle to put her in a death state like she did with Sasuke now and Zabuza a week ago. But it was getting difficult to do so, as Hinata's attacks were getting more ferocious by the minute. There. Haku ducked under a palm strike aimed at her chest, diving towards the ground and touching Hinata's legs. Instantly, the ice started to form around the Hyuga girl's limbs, immobilizing her, and Haku pounced. 2 senbon bit expertly into the Konohanin's neck before she fell to the ground. Haku. Zabuza roared and the black-haired girl looked towards her master, only for her eyes to widen in disbelief, seeing him being held down by a pack of dogs, all of them having bitten into his body. Zabuza-sama. Haku cried out seeing Kakashi run towards Zabuza with his Chidori. The brown-eyed girl poured all of her chakra into her legs, hoping against all odds to be in time to save her mentor. When she closed half of the space between her and Zabuza, she knew she would be fast enough to take the attack for him, only to gasp when she was suddenly pulled back. Let me go. Her hysterical cry sounded throughout the area and she looked back to what was holding her back. Naruto. She asked with a surprised look before it turned into one of betrayal. Please, let me go. Naruto closed his eyes and ignored her pleas, letting her only when the sound of flesh being ripped echoed through the battlefield and Kakashi's jutsu died out. Not wasting a second, the fake Anbu rushed towards her master, tears streaming down her face. Zabuza-sama, please don't go. I beg you, Zabuza-sama. The girl sobbed, holding on to the grievously injured missing nin. Kakashi sighed with a sad look in his eyes, before preparing to kill her too, only to notice Naruto's presence. You're alive, the silver-haired Jonin breathed out a relieved sigh, getting a solemn nod from the blonde. What of Kisame? He asked, showing his surprise and concern over the bloodied and ripped clothes of the blonde. Dead, Naruto answered and slowly walked over to Haku, who was crying loudly, trying to patch Zabuza's wound. Haku, the blonde placed a hand on the girl's shoulder, only for it to be slapped away as she glared at him, her once kind eyes filled with hatred. Don't touch me. Naruto sighed and pulled back, watching as she tried to heal her master. The missing nin groaned, blood staining the bandages over his mouth. Haku, he muttered weakly, trying to stop her from healing him. She looked at him with shock, not understanding why he pushed her hands away. I lost, that's all. That's the world we live in. No. Please, Zabuza-sama. You're still as soft as the day we met, unable to harden your heart. You are not fit to be a shinobi. A small bloody smile revealed itself on his face as the bandages from his face fell down. His eyes met Naruto's, conveying their seriousness. Brat, take care of her for me. Haku, go with the brat, he will protect you, I know it. I am not going anywhere without you, Zabuza-sama. That's my last order, do with it what you will. His eyes glazed over and his body became limp. An anguished cry filled the place as the brown-eyed girl cried out towards the sky. A few feet away, Kakashi was crouching next to his other 2 students, looking at them with a saddened look, his Sharingan already hidden. It seems I have failed my team again, he muttered, hearing the blonde join him. Not yet, they are alive. Kakashi turned to him with wide eyes, before lifting his forehead protector, looking at them with his Sharingan. True to the blonde's words, chakra still flowed through their bodies, just like it usually would. But, how? Aku put them in a death-like state, just as she did with Zabuza a week ago. She is too gentle to kill someone. You know her? It piqued Jonin's curiosity how the blonde spoke about Haku as she knew her. The blonde nodded, taking out the senbon from his teammates' necks. Yeah, met her a few times in the forest. We spent some time together. Wah, a week spoke up as Sasuke opened his eyes. Hinata groaned and slowly sat up. What happened? You were put into a death-like state. Is Tozuna? Sasuke left the question open and got a shake of the head from the Jonin. Izuna is alive. Zabuza, on the other hand, well you can hear. What do we do now? Hinata asked, glaring at Haku. We leave her alone for now, Naruto said seriously, leaving no room for discussion. End the mission. Sasuke added. There is still Gato to take care of, Kakashi said, and the team stood up. But let's rest for today. Not yet, Naruto suddenly said, confusing his teammates. He looked towards the direction of the village with a glare, before turning to his team. Gato is heading for the village, he is currently at the bridge, Kakashi groaned, oh how he wished it would be over already. How certain are you? The shadow clone I left in the village noticed him and dispelled. I see, well it seems we still have our work cut out for us today. Can you two fight? Kakashi asked, getting two nods in answer, before Sasuke looked at Haku, who by now stopped crying and was merely hugging Zabuza's corpse. What about her? Let her grieve for now. Team 7 arrived at the outskirts of the village just in time to see Gato and his army of mercenaries leave the bridge, heading for the main square. Kakashi, trying to get their attention, whistled loudly, making the small businessman stop and look at their group. His eyes widened before narrowing upon landing on the blonde. You, blonde brat, you were the one who was killing my mercenaries, right? So what if I was? Naruto asked with an annoyed look. He wouldn't lie, seeing Haku in such a state put him in a sour mood and he wanted to release some steam, especially since he was the reason things ended this way. Ha! Whoever brings me his head will get double, no, triple the pay. Gato shouted to his henchmen, gaining a bloodthirsty roar of approval from the small army. Sasuke, Hinata, you know what you have to do? Kakashi asked, although it was obvious. They needed to kill them to ensure nothing bad happened to the villagers, it was the lesser evil. Kill a lot of bad people to save the few innocent ones, that's how it was in this world. Yes, Hinata answered, her usual cold mask was back on and hopefully she was ready to do it and wasn't just pretending. Sasuke nodded, taking out two kunai wordlessly. Kill them. Gato shouted and the small army charged at the four shinobi. Let me thin them out, a red light filled the area. Uzumaki Hijutsu. Red, 1/4 of the small army was instantly killed, crushed by the force behind the jutsu before Naruto and Kakashi rushed in. The Jonin took out two kunai, slashing and rending the flesh of the mercenaries and bandits without mercy. Naruto was a bit more savage than his sensei, using his hand to do the act. He crashed one man's head effortlessly, before punching through the chest of another, throwing his body at three other mercenaries with enough strength to kill them. Hinata jumped behind her teammates, with the Byakugan she danced around their attacks, tapping them ever so often on their chests or necks, before they started dropping like flies. Sasuke used his Sharingan to deflect and parry their attacks, making them kill their own allies, before using his shurikens and kunai to take them out in style. Gato's eyes widened, unable to comprehend how the army he paid a fortune for was getting slaughtered. It was absurd, it was impossible. He shrieked when Naruto appeared in front of him, behind him a path of carnage. Gato wanted to beg, he wanted to reason with the blonde, even try and bribe him to let him live, but before he uttered a single word, Naruto punched a hole in his chest. Good riddance, the blonde muttered, and the next moment he was back in the fight against the remaining bandits. They tried to run, to flee for their lives, but all of them were rounded and killed. As Gato watched the scene, blood pooling under him, he realized he made a mistake by ever coming into this shithole of a country. Team 7 looked at the villagers, who came to bid them farewells on the bridge. With Gato dead, Tazuna was able to continue the bridge construction without any worries, this time even the rest of the village came to help the old man. They have yet to see Haku since they left her back then. Once they came back, she was nowhere to be found, nor Zabuza's corpse, the only sign of them ever being in front of Tazuna's house was the pool of dried blood left there. Thank you all for your help, without you we would never be free from Gato's grasp, Tazuna said, bowing before Team 7, quickly followed by the rest of the village. The team all had different reactions, yet all of them were genuine. Sasuke smirked, happy that his efforts were recognized. Hinata tried to act all cold, but the small embarrassed blush on her face made it clear that she appreciated the farewell party. Kakashi gave them all an eye smile conveying his happiness, but otherwise didn't give any other reaction. Naruto, on the other hand, was grinning widely, sponging all the praises with excitement. Yes, you totally need to make us your national heroes or something. The blonde said with a grin, making the bridge builder laugh. Of course, my boy. Remember, we will never forget what you have done for us, and once we get our things sorted out, we will contact the Hokage for a trade agreement. I am sure Hokage-sama will be delighted to hear that. As Team 7 departed from the country, they could see and hear waves and cheers from the villagers behind them. They traveled in silence with a leisurely pace, all of them wanting to appreciate the few last moments of peace before they would return to the village and continue their journey. Once they entered the Fire Nation's territory, Naruto stopped, confusing his team. Something's wrong? Kakashi asked, ready for another fight, but relaxed when the blonde genin shook his head with a smile. They all turned to the left when they heard someone walking towards them from the forest. Haku, the blonde greeted with a smile seeing his friend. He was not sure if he could call her that, but he liked to think that somewhere during their meetings, they had sparked some kind of friendship between them. He noticed she was wearing the Kiri Anbu clothes, consisting of the standard Kurigakure pinstriped outfit which stopped at her knees. Over this, she wore a green haori with white trimmings, and around her waist a brown sash with a fringe trail wrapped around her waist twice. She also wore light brown platoon sandals with straps in the same color as her kimono and nail polish on her fingernails and toenails in matching blue-green colors. Haku's long hair was gathered in a white bun holder, while 2 locks of her hair fell loose framing her face, bound with metal hair cuffs at the ends, and a black Kiri forehead protector around her forehead. "Naruto," she greeted, a small smile on her face. She noticed he ditched his previous clothes and was currently wearing the usual Konoha Anbu outfit without the mask, most likely since he had no other clothes at hand. "So?" Kakashi asked, seeing the two of them look at each other and not being sure what to expect. After all, Haku could still pretty much blame them for Zabuza's death, someone she must have loved dearly from the reaction she had a few days ago. Will she attack us? No, that would be suicide, but does she have anything to lose? The silver-haired Jonin analyzed before blinking when the blonde walked up to the brown-eyed girl and extended his hand. Haku looked at the hand for a few moments before taking a deep breath and grabbing it. "So, she is coming to Konoha with us?" Hinata asked with a glare, not having forgotten about the humiliating loss. If it was 1 against 1, she could swallow her pride, but a 2 against 1? No. No, no, no. That was unacceptable, and the Hyuga heiress was nowhere near forgiving the ice bitch for the beating she had gotten. "I guess." Kakashi blinked and shrugged. That was on Naruto, so if anything happened, the blonde would be answering for this. Haku looked at Sasuke and Hinata before bowing her head. "I apologize for our last fight, I hope we can still be civil with each other." Sasuke looked at her for a few moments before shrugging. Even if his pride was wounded, he at least awakened his Sharingan and was still alive. Besides, it was hard to harbor ill feelings when the girl looked so honest about the apology. "Whatever," Hinata huffed and looked away with crossed arms, making the blonde snicker before she sent him a glare silencing him instantly. "Glad to have you with us," Naruto said, and the group started heading towards Konoha. "Do you think Hokage-sama will let me join the village?" She looked uncertain, almost afraid of the answer, but the blonde placed a calming hand on her shoulder. "Don't worry about it, the old man may be delusional about some matters," the blonde said with a smile, muttering something along the lines of not understanding my greatness, getting a sweat drop from the group. "But he is really kind, so there will be no problem." "And the council?" Kakashi asked, making the blonde scoff. "Like they have anything to say. And if they have a problem about Haku joining Konoha, I will deal with them." What if Naruto feared by nation Sasuke bashing naruhina? Thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.